Alright, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing fine. Hup, enabling this game sound. Hup. So, since I asked all of you what soundtrack you wanted to hear, and you mostly answered the original one. So that's what we're gonna hear during the run. So tell me if the game sound is not too loud. I should be joined by Rio very soon. Unfortunately, since the run is very early, well, it's the things that happens, but whatever. So anyway, I'm gonna start the run. So I'm Aelenwa, and I'm gonna run the Glitchless Beginner category. And we're gonna play with Reese as our protagonist, which this is a game where you have 3 different story, depending on your I'm French and I see that the chat already picked up on that with my accent. Alright, so I'm gonna start in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go! Alright, so let's go, and of course, give me a second, because the timer's not working. Let's go. Okay, everything is fine. Alright, so this is the tutorial fight. The game is teaching you how it works, like you can do normal attack, dodge, power attacks, you can charge your power attacks, and here I'm gonna use another power attack, so I can use the class strike, and still keep my 200% Thank you everyone for the good lucks. Alright, so this is the prologue of the story. So this is Reese's prologue. Every character has his own story in the game, so they all start somewhere else. Also, because they have different stories, we've taken into account how long it takes to clear them. It basically summarized as how long do the prologue takes and how long do the final dungeon take, because like 80% of the game stays the same, no matter which protagonist you take. Up. And something that's very important in this game for speedrunning is that normally when you want to skip a cutscene, you have a button dedicated for that you can press and hold, and after like 1 second of keeping it held, it skipped the cutscene, but that is quite in fact slow to do. It's faster to just mash through the cutscene with A, but it only works if the cutscene has some dialogue. And here's one of these cutscenes. Like, I'm gonna skip very quickly there, and because I went so fast in skipping this cutscene, the next part of the prologue will glitch out and not play the music, so it will be a bit silent.
You got a second? Hello.
Yeah, hello. How you doing?
Hello. I'm Rio. I'm here joining for some commentary on this run.
Just in time for the end of the prologue.
The most exciting part of the game, right here.
Exactly.
Look, it's all on fire.
So here, this is the very fun part of the story where Reese basically got her little brother kidnapped, and also her father got killed. So yay! Because that's pretty much how all the prologues go. It's all the characters reaching the lowest point in their life, and they basically hang on to a small hope of going to see the Priest of Light in Wendell, and so they can give them advices on how to turn around the situation.
Yeah, Reese's is particularly brutal.
Yeah.
Like everybody she knows is killed in the fortress, more or less.
So here we're in Jad, a city that has been invaded by the werewolves, the beastmen, and so we cannot escape until we wait for the night to come, where the beastman transforms into werewolves and supposedly becomes dumber, and so they just let the front door of the town open.
Yeah, it's the classic. They're just gonna fight each other, so we're just gonna sneak out real quick. There wasn't even any beastmen you could see anywhere in the way, so it's fine.
So here I'm gonna roll immediately on the left, on the corner of the bridge, because that's pretty much a big part. Another big part of the run is avoiding as many fights as we can, because we do not need all that EXP, and also some of these fights can be quite long to do. And there I would not be able to skip this fight because this assassinant moved on the way, and these are the bane of this area because they have a very
you got
large
that one. That
radius.
sucks. Yeah, usually he took the long route around on the right behind the rock, and then the mushrooms. Oh, he got the mushroom skip. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
That's pretty random though. The mushroom sometimes decides to sleep a bit longer. Oh,
Yeah, that one. I've never seen anybody do that consistently, so.
All we know is that you can influence it a bit with the camera, and but yeah, there's nothing really to make it really consistent. Alright, so we wanted to go to the city of Wendell, but the cavern was sealed off by a barrier, so instead we're trying to find a solution. And here people are talking about the light over the lake that happened last night, and maybe this night is gonna happen too. Picking this up, this 10 look, because we haven't done any fight yet, the tutorial did not give us any gold, and we need to sleep at the inn. And when you start a run and you forget to pick this up, and you arrive at the inn and you're like, wait, why can't I sleep? And suddenly you feel really silly. Up, so here's the light that we now have to follow.
Yeah, so more or less the decisions that he's going to be making about whether or not to take fights and things like that are just about experience, because there's a couple points in this game, much further down the line at this point, but there's certain points where we really want to hit certain levels in order to class up and handle the game a lot faster. So experience, but obviously in the early game here, these encounters are very poor in experience, and they also don't drop anything worthwhile. It's, so he's just, like we said, we're just gonna be skipping everything. There are going to be points later where we take a lot of fights, so you will see that.
So we found the light people were talking about in town, which turns out to be a fairy, and it was very exhausted because it came all the way from the Mana Sanctuary, and because the Mana Sanctuary is a danger, so she went also going to Wendell to look for help. Oh, it almost worked. But she was too exhausted to reach her destination, so instead she's now living rent-free in her head, which is pretty good.
I mean, we can't really be too sad about it. She's pretty great, so if not, maybe a little bit of annoying voice, maybe, but
But that's something to remember, though, because at one point of the story, there's something very weird that will be happening regarding that. So keep that in mind. So now we can go back to this grotto, but there's also our first companion, which is Kevin. Here, being very careful, because here, a new thing of the remake is that you can play the prologue of your companions, and the game gives you the choice to do it or not. Obviously, in a speedrun, we don't want to do that because it's very slow. So since we're mashing through the cutscene, we have to be very careful not to say accidentally yes, because the answer defaults to yes.
Yeah, it's an automatic reset in a speedrun. It's like 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
No, actually more than that. It's like 6 minutes for a prologue or so, 5 to 6 minutes. And I see in chat that somebody's mentioning that Kevin is going to be a little bit unfair, and they're definitely right. I mean, Kevin is the star of the run. Aelenwa will be controlling Kevin the majority of the time. And the main reason for that, at least, well, the simple reason is that he just does tons of damage. He does so much damage. And part of that is that in his backstory, he's one of the Beastmen, but he doesn't, agree with the aggressive invasions and things that they're doing. But as part of being a Beastman, at night he does have this transformation. You can see him right there. He's got the beast form, and that in this game, I'm not 100% certain of the math, but I think he has like 1.5 times strength or something like that while in beast form, which is a huge boost like throughout the entire game, especially in the early game.
Here's something a bit important that I did is that I took the fight, which so triggered the fight result, and when this pops up, the game delays every kind of tutorial it should be displaying, and by doing this, I took the opportunity to go into the menu and attribute Kevin his training points, which is pretty much stat points that also unlocks abilities, and this way I could make sure that all tutorial happens in the same time, which is not when I'm trying to navigate the menu, which can be quite annoying to do.
Yeah, and that encounter also has a chance to drop an extra dream read. I'm not sure if you
yes, it can.
would ever need it, but yeah, you probably just route in enough without it, but
yeah,
it could save a couple of seconds possibly.
And so here,
right there, he's buying the weapon from the first shop. It's not going to be used for too many encounters, but you pick up just enough money right along the way in the cavern that he can buy that to give Kevin a little boost on these first couple bosses.
If everything goes well, because on the money route, the last time I'm taking a boat, I should end up with exactly 2 look. My money route is very, very, very tight. So here's the priest, and here's a cutscene you will not see. That's the good point of mashing through. And he gave us something called the shared ability. Something new in the remake is that you can unlock abilities which are pretty much passives, and some of them are called shared, which means that when you unlock them with one character, anyone else can equip it. Otherwise, it's only the characters that unlocked it that can use it. And pretty much... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, finish your thought.
I lost my thoughts, so go ahead.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, I see in chat asking about the patch. He's running on the most recent patch for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Any percent, it's not super active, but if you want to do the true any percent of this game, you need to be on the first patch, but it's not a very fun run.
Yeah, it's a very particular kind of run when you spend 20 minutes spamming an item that boosts your strength, and then you have 500 strength at level 1, and you just punch everything, and they die in 1 or 2 hits. It's interesting to do, but it's also very reset heavy, because you have to get a random drop from the seeds, and that's annoying to get.
Yeah, and also people are talking about Angela in the chat and whether or not she's good. For a long time, I actually ran early on when the game came out. I ran some any percent. I ran some Glitchless with Angela, and I also ran some any percent with Angela. And she is very fast in the late game. The spells, there's a lot of pretty cool micro you can do with the spells in this game. But it just ends up being slower than the amount of power that the buffs that Durin can give you. Yeah, this is going to be Glitchless. I will mention here and there.
Just there, a quick zip. By using the aerial attacks and having a very high FPS count, which means above 30, you can gain height, and then with the roll you can get just enough height to enter the boss room by the exit,
Yeah, so then here we are at the first boss. It's going to be very easy, but I do want to mention here is that it's going to be very important. This boss, it's not very important, but in all the subsequent bosses up till like pretty much the end of the early game, it's going to be very important that he takes no damage from these bosses, because I think there is a 10% experience increase
Yes.
at the end of fights if you do not take damage. And there's a 5% increase if you kill the boss using a CS. So he might swap to Reese, and now he doesn't care about it because this boss doesn't give very much. But the route is very dependent on the extra 10% from the bosses. So if there is a hit, if there's a mistake made, there's going to have to be a little bit of makeup grinding near the end of the early game.
So here we have a cutscene to mash through, and then the next one, since there's no dialogue, I cannot mash through, so I have to press the regular skip button. And then I can mash through all the next ones in the prison, where we meet our second companion, which is Doran, which completes our team of buff the Kevin, because Kevin is broken. Up.
And everybody else is meant to just support Kevin and make him do more damage.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and in chat there are people talking about the skip you did earlier and kind of what Glitchless means. That little skip that you saw, that is pretty much the extent. There are ones that save more time than that one. That one only saves maybe, 10 seconds because you have to run around and run away from some enemies. But there will be a few more later that save more time, but that is pretty much the extent of anything, skip-wise. It's just going to be bashing the bosses as fast as possible.
Yeah.
There in any percent there's a lot of out of bounds that saves a lot of time, and there's also wrong warps. There's a lot of stuff going on at any percent. If you're interested, there are some good runs. My run's kind of old, but it's still pretty good. There's a couple more recent runs. The speedrun.com board doesn't have it separated between the old patch, but I'm doing it on like a new patch style, so. Yeah, I will if you stick around, I will mention a lot more of the any percent stuff.
So I did a whole bunch of menuing here. Basically, something very important that I did is that I removed the AI ability to use the class strike by themselves. So we haven't talked yet about how class strikes works. They are pretty much some sort of limit breaks. As you can see, they are a percent at on the lower part of the screen, and when you reach 100%, you can use a class strike, which is a super move. Just focusing a bit here because there's again.
Sure, I'll talk about the class strikes. So more or less, the way they work is there's these meters under each individual character, and they go up to, at this point, 200%, and eventually they'll go up to 400%, and you have to as you class up, you learn more of them. And more or less, they're like super moves. They have various properties. They usually do big damage. Some of them can kind of stun the enemies. Some of them have, various things. And a big part of it, and a big reason that these fights can be really fast and glitchless, is that normally when you use them, your character is your control is locked, because it goes into like kind of like a mini cutscene. And you can't change characters, you can't, issue commands or anything, you gotta wait for it to finish. But if you do a technique called CS swapping, what happens is if you input some commands, some attacks, and then queue up a class strike to come out, and then quickly switch characters, your character will do the class strike, but you will be in control of a separate character. So you can continue to do a lot more DPS, or set up more class strikes, and you can chain them together. And you'll see that a lot later in the game to really do huge DPS. It's one of the only reasons we can one-cycle some of the later bosses and things like that. So very important again.
However, for now, the CS we have cannot lock enemy in place. So the only reason I did it is so they don't waste them on regular fights, especially when you just want to run away from them, because the AI love using the CS when they can, and so I can keep them for boss fights.
So this section, I mentioned earlier that for the most part, we'll be running from encounters. This little highway right here these encounters have really, really high experience for the amount of time you have to spend fighting them. Right now it's during the day, so he's actually going to skip more than he normally would. But
I do it more because for now I'm only level 6, which means I don't deal that much damage yet. So it takes a bit too much time for me to find it worth it to really clear all encounters around here. I just do this
Sure.
one because it's fast enough.
But we're going to have to run through this place. I think it's 5 times.
Something like that.
And pretty much every other time you're going to be taking almost every encounter because the experience rate is just so good here.
And say hi to a little cactus for the only time we'll see him in the game.
And bye. It's a very fun, collection mini game when you play casually, and there's a lot of really powerful upgrades you can get, but obviously it's much too slow.
People have tried to rotate in, but unfortunately, to reach the really interesting parts of the bonus it can give, like discounts at shop and things like that, you have to find him already like 30 times, something like that. So it's you have to watch the cutscene of catching him every time and having the stamp, which really gets it's a lot at the end.
Yeah, in chat they mentioned that there's a flea timer decrease as well, but people have tried getting that in a glitchless run, and it's just not fast enough.
Since I'm gonna enter a boss fight here, I'm enabling this usage of CS again, and here when I'm on the third plank here, I'm gonna use a dream read and walk forward, which will skip the animation of swapping between night and day, and now it's nighttime, and so I'm going to focus
you should focus for here. So this is the Golem's boss. It's really not so bad, but there's that attack that we just saw with the rocket arms. That one is very tricky. There's kind of a hitbox kind of behind the boss, and again, he really wants to take no damage here. So he could just keep wailing, but he's going to be being a little bit careful because it's not worth the time loss of getting hit. And also there, a little bit, you saw him using a little bit of swap tech, not CS swapping, because you haven't seen him use CSs yet, but you can increase your DPS, because the AI, you would like it to be better and have them, constantly attacking for max damage, but that is not what they do. So whenever there's a swap to these other characters, just trying to bring them in, get them being aggressive, to, stun the boss faster, obviously just increase your DPS.
And that was some combo swapping. Because sometimes at this point of the game, the CS, the combos are very short, but the final attack of Kevin's combo is very long. He has some sort of he punch while jumping and then punched on the ground, which is very slow to get through. So I have enough time to swap to another character, do a full combo with that character, and then comes back to Kevin just the time it becomes back available.
Yeah, it's just a little optimization in combat to just increase the DPS. Because even though the side characters, you can see Kevin was hitting for 30 and 40 damage, and the other characters were 10 to 15. But you're still increasing the DPS because the AI is not going to be constantly attacking.
Also, I didn't get hit, so I got the 10% damage, 10% XP bonus. So that's
very good.
Nice.
Do you, with your route, do you count on the no EXP for the wall?
For what?
I forget his name. The wall boss. Right before Bill and Ben. Right before Bill and Ben.
Zenoa. No, I only count the EXP,
you only need
the damage bonus up until Heartbeat.
Okay, so there's only going to be 2 more bosses that he's going to have to no damage here to keep his route intact.
Heartbeat is easy because she has very well telegraphed attacks and they are slow to come out. However, the golems and Geolitor can just sucker punch you and pretty much they can hit you without you being able to react. The golem has just a simple punch they can do that comes out very fast, and Geolitor has rocks that falls from the ceiling. And now that I'm level 8, you can see that enemies are dying very fast now. So I just do every fight on the way. My objective is to be level 9 for the next boss, so which is G-Ritter.
Just for a little perspective, that one fight he just did, these fights are giving, 125 to, 250 experience or so, depending. Even like 15 minutes later in new zones, they're giving, 150 experience. This is just as good as later on, more or less, and it's just super fast.
Also, something I haven't talked about yet is that one of the reasons I really like having Duran in my team is that he gets very early an ability called Provoke, which pretty much does what it says. It provokes enemies, it pulls the enemy's attention to him, which is very nice to avoid getting hit, especially like against the golem fight. You can have both of them targeting him, and since you try to aim for the one that is far from him, you have all the time in the world to kill him before he decides to swap targets, because they move very slowly. So that's very nice. You just have to be careful for the nasty hitbox of some of their AoEs. And it's gonna.
Okay, so now we're.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now I was just going to talk about story. So now we're visiting, the dwarves, because they have access to the fuel that we need to start the cannon that we saw earlier in town. Because that cannon is what's going to take us over to where we want to go.
Almost put the wrong method.
Don't do that.
No, that will be fine. It's not. It wouldn't have mattered that much at this point of the game.
Oh yeah.
It's the same price and. But yeah, because we want to go to Volsina because it's being invaded by the magicians of Volsina, and the issue is that when we took the bridge to go there, we met the golems, which when we defeated them exploded and destroyed the bridge, which is why we want to go there by cannon, which is the only means of transportation available now. But that's also the coolest one, so that's not an issue.
Interestingly, if you use some glitches to skip the boss trigger for that golems fight earlier, you can get past it, and you can actually run all the way to where we're trying to go. But the triggers aren't there, so everybody's just standing around. But you can get there. We have tested it.
We found another way to skip some triggers and go behind walls that you should not be able to go yet. But the story flags in the game are very strongly coded. You cannot skip any of them. If the game tells you you have to do that, anything behind that point will never spawn.
Yeah, and okay, so this item that he just picked up there is pretty important. It was a mysterious cookie, which in this game you use it and you get 10 minutes of increased experience gain. And it's going to be 10% for this lowest level cookie that we can get in the early game, and it is obviously going to help us reach our experience threshold, level 18, at the end of the early game.
It's also the only XP item you can get from anything but the item 6.
Yeah. In any percent, there are ways to duplicate items. So when we pick that up in any percent, we would then duplicate it for the rest of the game and have that increased experience gain, which lets us skip. Since in any percent, there's a lot of boss skips as well. It helps keep up the levels. And then here's Juliator. So this one's kind of a toss-up. There's a little bit of RNG involved in whether or not he can get the no damage here. Any of these attacks while he's in the wall here, as long as Aelenwa's on the ball, he can dodge them. Now he's going to get stunned. He's going to try and do as much damage as possible with these quick swaps. And some CS swaps there. You just saw him do it from Reese over to Duran for some damage. Now right here, there's going to be these rocks falling. And there's a possibility one just hits his hitbox. It lands right on Kevin at the worst possible time, but
Oh
he
no,
did
that's
not
not the
get
right
hit.
pattern. Quick, kill him, kill him, kill him!
Ooh, you're a little bit ahead of me. Did you get it? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
got
didn't
it.
go directly in. That's actually faster. That is actually a faster cycle, but you weren't ready. But he
Yes
did get
and
the no
no,
damage.
because I'd rather him doing the pummeling the ground again for the falling rocks, because it gives me more time to kill him. When he just
Right.
do the big slam, it's his second move, and so he's going back directly back into his hole, which makes you lose some time.
Right. But you did manage the no damage, so we're still on track
Yeah.
with the Experimenter route.
Yep, avoiding the fight by the left, and here
And
something very fun with Kevin here is that when you
yeah.
do when you do the first attack when he's running, he does his little slide animation, and if you do it off a ledge, so you do a ledge slide, you gain an abnormal amount of speed, and that's very fun to see, and it's also very nice in speedrun.
Yeah, the to put it simply, Kevin's dash attack is a super broken attack. In terms of, coding. It's a really broken piece of code. It is the whole reason that any percent works. Nobody in the community has really dug into any code or anything to figure out why. But the speed values that are getting set are very, very strange. And when you can, in Glitchless, like you mentioned, you can, slide off of the ledges and get a lot of speed. Because when you go from ground to the air, the game doesn't reset your speed, and it also doesn't have strong deceleration or anything like that, like air resistance values or anything like that. So you can gain a lot of speed, and in Glitchless you get these fun little zips off the ledges, and there's some decently cool optimizations you can do with, the walking around and the routing. In any percent, there's a way that you can jump and slide attack at the same time, which when you then collide that with some geometry, it can send you flying. And that's how we get out of bounds and we do everything. So it's super broken. You won't see it shown off so much in the Glitchless. You'll see a lot of these cool zips, though. So
to answer, I was about to answer a question of the chat, but the chat already did it. But to have it in oral form, yes, there is the Black Rabbit in this version of the game. It's even better than the original because it's available on every route and not just on the Ran and Angela one. So here we take the cannon, but unfortunately we're skipping everything in the cutscene. I'm so sorry. We won't be able to see.
What is that guy's name in the French version?
In the
French,
he's Bon Voyage.
Okay, so it's the same as the English version and the Japanese version. Okay. It's just so
the
fun.
English version invert the V and the B.
Oh yeah. That's so strange.
Alright, so there's something very important about this fight I'm doing. Aside from the EXP, they are playing in my XP route, but this Mole Bear can drop something called the Mole Bear Claw, which is an item that converts the elemental damage of my hits into earth damage, which is very interesting since the next boss we're going to fight is weak to earth. So if we can drop some, that would be good. We're gonna buy some anyway. We have planned money for that, but dropping them will make the fight still go faster.
Yeah. Will you have to pick up any extra money if you don't get a drop?
No.
No. So you have it all anyway.
Yep.
Okay.
Because they are quite rare. It's not unusual to never get a drop in a run.
I remember when I was routing Glitchless with Angela, I needed every cent I could get, every single lucre I could get. So I really needed a drop, but Durin is a lot more forgiving in that sense.
Right, so here, going this way, I should hit 3 of them. Okay. I'm not looking as much for random fights like that, I'm not really expecting to do no damage, especially because Duran is level 11, so I'm going to remove Provoke from him. Because another quirk of Kevin is that he gets very early an ability called Conflagration. It's an ability that gives him additional damage if his health is under 30%. And so I want to start the next boss fight at low life. So I moved Taunt, Provoke from Duran, so I pulled more enemies to me, and thus I should be able to get hit a bit more. So do you want to talk about what's happening actually in this castle?
Sure, if I remember. So the mages are attacking Volsena here, and what were they after again?
I don't remember.
There's not. It's very cartoon. So it's very classic JRPG villain motivation.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they did keep, you know, kind of the old story writing. It's all the same stuff. So there's nothing very profound that these villains are looking for.
No, literally here, what we're trying to do is to save the king, and to do that, we just have to reach the room, and then the bad guy here will just be like, ah ha ha, I'm just gonna teleport away now, goodbye. And Duran will be like, oh, not again! Oh, I'm very mad. And that's pretty much it. But now that we saved the king, he's gonna tell us about the location of the next elemental spirits, because to save everyone, to solve everyone's problem, the priest of Wendell just told us, hey, why don't you go just pick up the mana sword? You know, the big, very important item of this universe. And to do that, we have to first be able to reach the mana sanctuary. And to do that, we need to gather the 8 elemental spirits. But we don't know where they are, so we went here to ask the king where they are. And now we know that the wind one is located in in Gust Hall, just on the side of the castle of Laurent, the citadel of Laurent, which is the home of Reese, the one that has been captured by ninjas. So we're gonna have to
just a few seconds ago, you picked up something very, very important, and one of the reasons that Duran is very fast. So in this game, Aelenwa mentioned that there are shared skills that you can pick up that can be equipped to anybody in your party. And in your playthrough, whom you choose to have in your party affects which skills you're able to get. And so the one that we just picked up was from Duran's little rival in Volsena. And it's called, in English version, it's called Personal Style. And what it's going to allow us to do is, when we equip it on Kevin, whenever we use a class strike, it's going to give us the game's generic attack up status, which is a huge buff. And it removes the need to apply that status from, you know, any other source. So it lets us have Reese specialize into debuffs later and things like that. It's also more powerful of a buff than the buff that you would get from using the equivalent item. So it's very, very important, and one of the reasons that Duran is very fast.
If you have to choose between having a buff or a debuff, which is pretty much what you have to do when you change the class of Reese later on, it's always more effective to choose debuffs, because enemies have way more stats than you, so reducing a % of their stats are always going to be more efficient than increasing a % of yours. But since we have also a personal style, we can do both, which is, well, getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting when I was running this with Angela in the party, because when you're using Duran, all of your damage is pretty much all of your damage is coming from Kevin, buffing up Kevin, making him really, really strong. But if you run Angela in your party, you actually have really strong split damage between Kevin and Angela. So in that case, the buffs were actually really strong compared to debuffs as well, because you're buffing 2 separate damage dealers. So, you know. But in the end, Durin is much faster. So.
And we're back in Golden Road again.
And guess what? We're going to kill all of the enemies again, because remember, he's one of these. The first encounter he's going to fight here, I think, gives 200 to 220. Some of those encounters before Volsena, like with the mole bears and things, were giving like 180, right?
I'm skipping this one because the goblin has an armor, which I have to break before being able to really deal damage to him. Basically, some enemies have like a blue shield just on the side of their health bar, which reduces every damage they take by 90%. And to break this, you have to do a fully charged power attack, which is well, it's slow. Can you stop moving? Thank you.
This is the last time you will be here, though. Right? Did I miscount?
I think it is the last. Yeah, it's the last time technically, as in going all the way through the road.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Last time you're actually traversing. But yeah, one thing that we haven't mentioned at all, but that is definitely a part of this, is being consistent with your speed in these parts, because you want to make sure the day-night cycle. It's fair. The day and night cycle in this game is very forgiving overall, but there's only a certain number of dream reads that forcibly make it night in the game, and we want to make sure that the cycles line up the way we want to. Also, the NPC placements in town can be different based on whether it's day or night, and they're a little bit faster or slower depending on where they are.
Also, something very important here about the day-night cycle is that the fights where there are only zombies are not present, neither replaced during daytime. So we really have to reach the end of the road before daytime if we want to be on the EXP route, because these zombies gives a lot of EXP, so you don't want to miss that.
Yeah, and that was perfect. So the cycle hit right before he entered the town, so he has the good NPC placements in town to be a little bit faster, and we'll know what the countdown is going to be, because we're going to be making it night a little bit later, and we don't want it to be night early or we're going to lose some time. So
yeah, if you miss the zombies, there are other fights you can do which are on the way, which minimize the time loss, since you always have to trigger the fight. But
these ones are low level, and the experience is pretty comfortable, so it's definitely better to get that if you can.
Alright, so we couldn't take the bow the first time we speak to him because it was not ready. We had to speak to a few NPCs. It's something the game loves to do, especially in the first part, like that. But once we're done with all this and we reach Hospit, the game is gonna, the pace of the game is gonna pick up, and it's gonna be boss after boss until the end of the game.
Well, we have you know, another little while before we get a lot of fights, because we're gonna have to, you know, backtrack a couple times here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this early game, I hope you guys have been enjoying it, but it is definitely slower than the rest of the game. So, and that's partially because of the way the content is spread out. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of these sections like we're in right now where you have to walk to the star and press X to talk and then move on. There's less of those later. And also, once we get class ups, the power spikes in this game are massive, huge power spikes. So
they also reworked the experience curve in this game, so you get the first class change earlier than the original. Here you expected to class change just before facing Harsipit, while in the original it was just before releasing the Benevolence, I believe, so way later, which is pretty much a good thing they did that, because the first class of pretty much everyone except Angela and Charlotte have nothing for themselves. It's just, oh well, you can do basic combo, and that's pretty much it. You have to wait their first class up to really unlock abilities and make the characters interesting to play.
Because it's not only just the abilities that you can unlock, it's also your basic attack combo. You can do one more attack, light attack in your combo, and it opens up the game so much. You have so much more freedom in battle to deal lots of damage with all sorts of different characters.
Sure. What I wanted to say is just that pretty much every character except Angela and Charlotte at class 1 just pretty much feel the same to play. Yeah. And once you get the next class, it's really they really get their own thing.
So we just made our way to Laurent, and we're trying to figure things out, and we're about to go back. So get ready, guys.
Yep, because here's the hideout of the Amazons that survived the invasion of the ninjas, and they are planning to retake the citadel of Laurent. Which is a big issue since the citadel of Laurent is known as, I have absolutely forgotten how it's called in English. It's like it just cannot be taken, something like that.
Impenetrable.
Yeah, maybe.
Or it's not, yeah. Okay. I think we get it.
And yeah, they speak of it like that, and then just in the prologue it gets taken, and now you want to take it back. And the plan now is to find a plan. So we have to find a great strategist that can cook a plan to take back the citadel. And the only one they can think of is a Korobakur, which are a race of very, very small people. And we cannot speak to them because first they are hidden and they don't like humans. So we have to find a way to reduce ourselves to their size. Fortunately, because you go on.
No, finish.
Fortunately, since everything's lined up perfectly in the story, we're gonna go back to the black market of Baise. There's gonna be a old woman that wanted to that was on her bucket list. She wanted to handle a shop, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so bored. I want to get out. Just take this, and I'm going away. I'm going home." And so what she gives us is the hammer that allows us to reduce ourselves to very small size.
Also, the night market is one of the reasons the day-night cycle is important, because it's the night market.
Yeah.
It's only open at night. And these shops are unique in the whole game. These are the only place that you can buy all sorts of buff items and attack items and things like that. And we do need to pick up a few of the earth elemental claws that we mentioned. And just in general, this whole portion of the game, from like searching out the strategist up until, Hearts of Pete, is my favorite part of JRPG hand waving. It's great.
I forgot the money pickup somewhere because I'm missing 1 gold for the next boat.
You have something you can pick up something on the way.
Yeah, probably.
One encounter really quickly.
If it's just 1 gold, there should be a pickup somewhere for that.
There should be a fight with only a couple rabbits or something you can take really fast as well.
Not this chest, but it's an item in this chest. I think I have a knight.
Yeah, you don't want to have to sell anything, so that would be slow. I think your best bet is to kill some enemies.
No, wait. I think there's. Oh, leave me alone. I think there's a pickup around the statue I need to go to. Also,
you can always take last resort. You can kill something on the way back. So
yeah, of course.
Did you mention rolling?
No.
In the game, in terms of so in this game, Aelenwa chooses to just be running the whole time, just holding the left stick and running around. But rolling is technically a little bit faster, but you have to be pretty much frame perfect with chaining your rolls. And if you mess it up, it's slower. So if you look at a different run from different runners, like runs that I've done and a lot of other runners, and places with long straightaways, people will chain rolls, and it is definitely a little bit faster. It's not a lot, but but you'll see that we will, every time there's a loading zone, you're always rolling into the loading zone and things like that because it saves frames.
So here's a fun fact about this place. So here we found our strategist, which is called Don Perry. And when we speak to him, he said, "No, I don't know where Don Perry is. You should go look around in town." There's a fun fact about him is that he tells us later that he knows that A, we are human, and B, that the fairy is with us, and C, he also knows that having the fairy with us means that the world is in danger, and still he thinks that's the right time to pull a prank, which is go around town fine for him, because I'm not Don Perry. Except
not to mention he knows exactly what the situation is and exactly what you need to do.
Yeah. So even
and he knows the exact best plan to get into.
So even though the world is in danger and that he knows it, it's still like, yeah, it's time for a prank. That's a mistake, and that's also money. Yep, that's also money. Alright,
so there was plenty.
Oh, but I accidentally also picked up the health jar, so now I have more health to lose with Kevin. Because yeah, you can pick up some jars on the way. There are multiple color. The brown one are either empty or have an item. You have the green one that restores 25% of your health. The blue one gives you 30%, 30% CS, and the purple one restores a bit of your MP. I don't know exactly how much because I never use them. So pretty much in a speedrun, there's like 2 item jars that's useful because they give magic ropes, and we'll try to pick up pretty much all the blue jars on our way to try to cap off our CS between fights. Yep. So we have just enough to take the boat, so we're fine. I just need to take more damage.
So now we're finally heading to... That's the end of the slow part.
Yeah! I broke my loading screens! Which is something that can happen on the way back on the boat here. When you mash too much, you can break the loading screen and just get black screens instead.
And that will actually stay for the rest of the run.
Yep.
Pretty sure you have to reload the game.
Maybe.
To fix
I haven't tried.
But it's not worth it. I mean, it's not actually changing anything about the screens. They're just not rendered properly or whatever.
However, there's something weird here with the day-night cycle, is that here it's daytime, and sometimes it's nighttime, despite like taking the pretty much almost same exact amount of time. And it wouldn't be weird if it was like almost night, but it's like middle of the day. And I don't know why sometimes there's such a difference.
Yeah, it is weird.
I need to take one more hit, because I have to be under 30% of life, which is 70. Since I have 212.
Yeah, we're gonna see a bunch more of these little
so
FPS jump skips here.
I've never struggled that much on this one. That's a new one.
The enemies probably messed you up. There we go.
Probably.
Yeah, and that probably saves, 10 to 15 seconds, maybe. That's on the high end,
yeah.
But, the one we're about to do saves a lot more than that, though. It saves like 30 plus, I think.
Yep.
So this is Gust Hall, which is where the Crystal of Wind is, and where the Wind Spirit is hanging out. But of course, there's villains everywhere. So there's going to be a boss here.
there are 3 stories, the 6 characters are paired in their main stories, and basically the 3 group of bad guys are all acting in the background for the first part of the game, which is very nice, because you never know which one you're gonna face, which one is gonna be annoying, trying to find my words, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're trying to say is that this section of the game, other than the prologue, no matter what route you were on, you're doing all the same content here.
Yeah.
But all the various like big villains, and not the final boss villains, but their direct commander, their lieutenants, are around and doing things throughout the game, no matter who you're controlling. So the ending isn't spoiled for you just by you see only your villains. Everybody's active, and that includes the other party members as well. You all, even if they're not ones that you chose to have in your party, you still come across them in spots that would be relevant for where they'd show up. So.
11, yeah. This fight should level up Duran. I want to level up Duran because that's a free heal for him, and since he's supposed to pull enemies' attacks, I want him to have it. Alright, so menuing here. Strategy, take your UCS, equip the armor upgrade, you use personal style, and you get Provoke back. Okay.
Yeah, and just for perspective,
so I'll let you
playing casually, I think the game expects you to be level 18 right here.
Forgot to use a Dream Read. So...
Oh no, okay, so this is going to be kind of a slow fight because we forgot to turn it into nighttime. So Kevin's damage is going to be pretty significantly less. It's not going to be a problem for Aelenwa. To kill the boss, it's not going to be a problem. It's just going to be a little bit slow here. Oh, you didn't use the cookie either, did you?
Okay, I'm loading the save.
Yeah, so there's an autosave. So yeah, the cookie it's probably worth.
The cookie is too important. That's 700 XP. I've been
just the nighttime would have been fine, but yeah, the cookie. Okay, so we're just gonna have to retraverse really quick.
I did a sim mistake on my last marathon run. Pretty mad right now.
Yeah, so the autosave here is when you enter the arena. And the Dream Read that turns it from day to night, as well as the various resource increases like the cookie to increase experience gain, can only be used out of combat without glitches. So right before that boss fight, it's very important to use both of those items. So we're just gonna have to retraverse really quick. It's not very long. In any percent, I'll just while you're running back. In any percent, right in that exact same spot where we kind of jump that ledge in Glitchless and skip, a little bit of traversal. In any percent, we can go out of bounds right there and just run all the way straight to the boss, skip the entire area, and we do it twice in the run because we'll be back here later. So
there's also a fun glitch you can do. When you swap characters, you can just break the wind mechanics of the statue and walk through it. It's pretty funny. It's unfortunate that it's not used in any person since there's the out of bound thing, and also it's completely a glitch, so it's not available on Glitchless.
But you only have to hit a couple of switches. The one that would be really slow, the one earlier, you can just, jump and roll.
Yep. So again, doing this fight.
Yeah, make sure you get Duran's level up.
Up. Alright, so strategy, UCS, no, not evolution, equipment, this and this, use the cookie,
yeah, and
the Dream Read. I've dropped a lot of Dream Read. I have 4 of them right now and only picked up 1.
You can skip them later. You can skip a couple pickups later. Save you a little time. Okay, so this boss, this is the most important boss to not take damage on. All the ones before, we said it was important. This one is extremely important because she gives a very large amount of experience. And as long as you take it slow, her attacks are quite telegraphed. Like that attack right there, it's not, even if it's not targeting you, you can't be anywhere here.
Yeah, the feathers hits
So-
you when they're spinning around her, so you have to move away.
Yeah, you just have to wait.
And she should be moving away because I can just get the attack on the way. Around here,
Yeah, so-
she should be using supersonic, but she's not. So
Yeah. So the boss, there's a number of bosses in this game where they have the
there
bosses
it
in
is.
this game at this point they have desperation attacks. That's the closest thing that they are to other games. So this is the expiration attack right here. Desperation is right there, and they get this kind of purple bar, and the mechanic is you have to deal enough damage or enough stun to break that bar, and then they're going to get stunned, and they take extra damage while they're stunned. And this boss is one example of a boss whose desperation attack isn't really a desperation attack, because it generally refers to like when something gets low on life, they're going to use their big attack. This is one of those bosses where there's specific percents of life left that they will choose to use it, and if you jump over that percent, they'll skip a cycle more or less. But that's bad, because when you stun them out of them, they take like double damage. So some runners choose to kind of even stop damaging the boss at various points to manipulate these cycles. And actually for the final boss in a couple of hours, it's extremely important that the damage is exactly what it needs to be to make sure the cycles are right.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was a really clean fight. No damage, so the XP route is perfectly good. We'll hit 18 right when we want it. Because as you can see in the bottom left corner, there's like 8 minutes and change left on this cookie. And the goal is we just took down one boss with that 10%, and we're about to run into Castle Laurent, where we're going to be taking on 2 more bosses back to back. And we want all 3 bosses within the EXP range. And the way the item works, it's not intuitive, but as long as you have any timer remaining at all, even just 1 second, and you enter a fight, you will get the 10% bonus. So we just have to enter the 3rd boss fight before the end of these 10 minutes, and we'll get tons of extra experience.
Alright, so now that we have the wind elemental, we can use the strong wind she can create to move the pollen of these flowers into the citadel, which has the property to make people fall asleep. So now pretty much 90% of the ninjas have fallen asleep. So we can take back the citadel.
But only in the areas that we've already been to. The new areas, they still got enemies.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. We'll be coming up in just a minute. That this section of the castle that we're about to enter, this is the same exact zone that the prologue was in for Reese. But this section of the castle, everything's loaded, including all the treasures and everything, even when you're here in the prologue. And there's actually, in the prologue, there's a guard on the stairs that if you walk up to her, she says, you can't go up here right now for X reason or Y reason or whatever. It's off limits. But you can very, very easily, it almost isn't a glitch, but it isn't allowed in Glitchless. You can kind of just jump and roll behind her, and you can get into this castle early. And you'll see in just a few seconds, Aelenwa's going to pick up an item, a weapon from a chest. And you can and it's going to be for Durin, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
the upgrades are linked to the position in your team. When you select your team, like you have protagonist, companion 1, companion 2, and chests specifically target either protagonist, companion 1, or companion 2.
Yeah, so this chest here has a weapon for companion number 2. In any percent, you actually run the game with Kevin as your 3rd character rather than your 2nd character. Because you can, as I mentioned before, you can roll behind the guard, do like kind of a mini sequence break, and you can pick up this chest early. And that would have a pretty strong, like almost mid-game weapon for Kevin, and you can use that for this entire early game section. So it's pretty cool. Now, the game very conveniently gives you water claws for the boss that's weak to water, so there we go.
And they are very important because as long as this boss has the flames, as you can see on his face, he's gonna use very powerful fire moves.
Yeah. This boss, once you know what you're doing, it's very, very easy. And by know what you're doing, you definitely have to extinguish the flames. Most of his attacks cannot hit you if you just stand in his face. The one thing that Aelenwa wants to make sure is that it's not dangerous, but you'll lose time if Kevin gets blown back by the wind, which will either be on the left or the right side of the arena. And you can see, I don't know if we mentioned it, but class strikes also have a lot of iframes on them. So when you're in the cutscene, you're completely invulnerable to all things. So we can use that to just go through regular hitboxes, wind hitboxes, whatever. And here again, he's doing the quick combo switching, just kind of buffering in a combo with various characters during the stun. But most of the time, you won't see that because it's more important to, dodge and keep Kevin healthy rather than the really small DPS increase that you get from, having Durin or Reese.
The issue here is that he spawned this trap very close to himself, so the AI will never stay close, they will just keep rolling around. Also, one terrible thing that can happen is that you have in the middle of the fight to reset the water claw, you have to reuse one, and your character can get interrupted while using the item, and it gets wasted, and so you have to do the second part of the fight without the buff, which is the worst thing that can happen. Because then
this boss... Yep.
Yeah, speak about the Ben because that's an annoying fight.
Focus for this one. So this boss is extremely dangerous. It is by far the hardest boss that we've seen so far. Both for just casual play and for time losses. So he has these various ninja arts that he's casting that are of various elements, and they also apply the corresponding debuff for that element. If at any point you get clipped by the one that reduces your attack, that's really slow for speedrunning. Some of them not as important, and then there's that attack, Shuriken. It's pretty quick. If you're stuck in a combo right when it comes up, you can get clipped, and it can shotgun you, because he more or less throws out 3 shurikens, and they start right in front of him, and then they spread out diagonally. And if you get clipped by all 3, with how underleveled we are, you can just get one shot, and it is much worse on people that run, in hard or even easy. You're getting one shot, so you have to be really careful. They also do a lot of damage to your companions, and then here, once at 50%, it splits into Bill and Ben separately. And here, what we're trying to do, if they cooperate, is you want them to get close together, so that you can hit them both with your CSs and your combos. And beginner, as long as you don't, like I said, get hit by all 3 shuriken, it's decently quick here. And also, we haven't mentioned, but since this is the first hard boss, if you get a party wipe on beginner, instead of getting a game over, the game is really generous and it lets you just continue in place, where you just get back up and you get full health and full CS and everything. So this is really, really forgiving difficulty if you wanted to, learn to run it, or if that's how you want to play casually. So right there, he actually just got shotgunned by the shuriken. Kevin was at
the end of the fight.
Almost full life. Yeah, you were at almost full life and you just got instantly one shot. But still, it was still a good fight. It was still pretty quick.
Yeah. Alright, so now I will never let my allies ever use a CS by themselves in the fights. Never. It's never gonna happen. I have absolutely need to make sure they have as much person as possible at the start of every boss fight. And because that's when we're gonna start doing some class swap shenanigans, class strike swap shenanigans.
Yeah, so the whole experience route for the early game was to land level 18 right now, which is, you can see, the whole party's level 18. which, as we mentioned, will be the first point where we can get a class up. And also, like we mentioned, the power spike is huge here. So it unlocks, just to reiterate, it unlocks another, you can do another attack in your combo. You can extend your combo a little bit. And for some characters, much higher DPS with the new combos. You get a higher CS point cap. You go up to a possible 300%. And you also unlock a new class strike. And some of them are extremely powerful. Especially, conveniently, Kevin's class strike 2 is going to be extremely powerful and make really, really easy work of some of these next bosses.
So is Duran. Duran doesn't seem like it's very strong, but on some bosses it has very interesting properties that allows to keep them staggered forever. It's just very stupid.
Yeah, and we're coming back into Gust Hall here because in order to class up in this game, you have to be at a mana crystal.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't go back here, the only reason we're going here is because the crystal's here and we can class up. If you don't do it here, you have like two additional bosses that are meant to be fought. They're mid-game bosses meant to be fought in Class 2. You'd have to fight them in Class 1, which would be before you can actually reach another mana crystal. So it's very important to track over here.
Very fun fact, at the very early beginning of the runs, we some, like me, choose to never do any fight other than bosses, and so we had to do the next 2 boss fights at Class 1s, which means the second fight against Speed and Ben. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah, and any percent, because of the skips, we don't class up here. We do continue the game at around level 16. But we only have to fight one more boss with Class 1, because the other boss, either Bill and Ben again, or Golems again, we can skip both of those in any percent. So you just have to fight one more boss, which gets you that level 18, and then you skip the next boss and you can class up.
So, quick explanation about the choice for the class up. So, they all went for their dark path, which is just flavor. There's no really like significant gameplay reason for light and path and dark. But basically, Reese's on dark path gets the debuff, so we can def down the enemies. Kevin gets dark path because that's where he gets the most attack. So obviously, more attack, more damage, more time save. And Duran goes for his dark path because that's where he gets the elemental saber, which is the equivalent of the claw. So we will be able to get elemental damage for normal attacks, which is quite a good thing, since we can.
And do you want to explain
exploit
some of those new abilities you just equipped?
Yeah, of course. So for Reese, we equipped an ability called Super Stat Down, which improved the efficiency of our debuffs. Pretty simple. For Kevin, we equipped him the second. The second piece of the puzzle for that goes with Duran's Prologue. Kevin got Ambush 2. Ambush 2 is an ability that increases Kevin's damage by 15% if he's not targeted by the enemy he is hitting. And since Duran is gonna pull the enemy's attention, we're gonna have this bonus most of the time. And for now, I have not set up Duran's training points, because there's no point in doing it for now, since he won't be taking part of the next fight, and the one afterwards he will be doing have a passive role where he will just be staying far away from the fight, pulling the enemies and tanking the hits.
I'm just seeing in chat about the language. Yeah, the text language, we didn't find any difference in speed, so he's just using his native language for the
yeah, I couldn't choose any language. It just So something that's
Okay,
a bit
so
unfortunate about mashing through the cutscene is that it's not very... oops, I don't want to pick that up, but it doesn't matter. It's that it's not very consistent. Sometimes you will get instant skips of cutscene, like you would just have a black screen and it goes past the game. And sometimes you have to go through every line of dialogue and every camera view, and it's a bit unfortunate. And I don't know why. Is French longer? We doesn't seem so. We never really noticed anything about that. So here's something interesting about this fight, is that I made sure that Reese has 100% since her CS1 can group up the enemy, and then Kevin can just hit them all at the same time, making this fight very quick.
you ever try and swag strat and CS swap that one with Reese?
I try, and sometimes she goes the other way around and hit no one.
So at this point, there's another reason you didn't level up Durin is that this section of the game, the ghost ship, has a kind of a unique mechanic where in just a minute or so, we're gonna come back and one of our characters is actually going to turn into a ghost, and it's going to be whichever character we enter the cutscene with.
Very important.
It does let
here,
you switch.
Very important here. I need to hug the hole, otherwise I'm going to trigger a fight that is that you cannot run away from, and it's a bit annoying because the enemies have a lot of HP here. So make sure to hug the wall.
Yeah. So he's going to go back and talk and start the cutscene with Durin, and he's going to have to fight this next boss with only 2 characters. So it doesn't matter if Durin doesn't have any abilities. He will also get no experience, so... But that's just how it is. The boss is balanced for that, so it works out.
Alright, goodbye Duran. Obviously, once the cutscene triggers, you lose the characters you're currently controlling, so that's why I was moving with Duran instead of doing it with Riz or Kevin. And the reason we choose Duran is because he's our last character, he's the companion too, and that means he's the one who has the most EXP because he starts at a higher level than all other characters. And this way we have less EXP he has less EXP to catch up later. Alright, so did I... Just making sure I'm not forgetting anything. No, I'm fine. Okay.
Yeah, in any percent, because we're even more under-leveled, the character that doesn't get experience here actually isn't level 18, so you actually have to visit 2 different mana crystals to class people up. But now we're going to see the power of the class 2 Kevin. It's not going to be super flashy on this fight. It's just this new 3 weak attack, 1 strong attack combo. The DPS of it is much, much higher. And it has... It's much higher because, I mean, the hit itself does massive damage, but it also just has less animation time because Aelenwa mentioned earlier that he was doing, quick swaps between characters during one combo because it was so slow. This one's fast enough that you really don't have to worry about it. Yep, so I think you're probably aiming for a 2-cycle here.
Yeah, doing 1 cycle is almost impossible. I don't have a proper setup for it. But
I remember...
Yeah, go ahead.
For 1 cycles, I remember having Angela makes it very easy to 1 cycle, but that's very old school as far as the speedrunning goes. It's not too bad. The desperation attacks of this guy, as long as you deal enough damage, he just immediately does it again, so you can just stun him and finish him off really quick.
And with that, we discovered that the Dark Elemental Spirit was taken prisoner about the ship by this ghost, and by killing the ghost, we freed him. But also, that means that the boat that exists, that is the ghost ship, it exists only because of the Gorva power draining the power of the Dark Elemental Spirit, and because of that, the ship disappeared. in the middle of the sea with us inside. So we stranded on this island, which is a volcanic island. There's a volcano around here, and the volcano is about to explode, so we need to escape very fast. And by very fast, I mean I can take as long as I need.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point to mention another really cool any percent trick. Because more or less we can really heavily glitch out items and how they're able to be used. And one of those is the escape rope in this game, which allows you to, if you're inside a dungeon or like a cave or like normal escape rope rules, Pokemon or whatever, it lets you escape the dungeon and go back to the entrance. But if you glitch out that item, it actually lets you use it when you're not inside a cave anymore, which is completely unintended. And if you use it on the overworld, the game will just wrong warp you to where it thinks is the most appropriate spot. So for example, on this island, in any percent, instead of this traversal to the town, to the little tomato town that he just went to, instead you would just use a rope, and the game decides to teleport you right to the town. And that's used a whole bunch in the any percent route to skip a lot of traversals, which is nice because in the glitchless version there is a lot of just running through these zones and trying to minimize your encounters. Like, I think in this entire volcano island you're not going to fight anything, right?
No, I'm not going to fight anything. No, the EXP route was only mattered until you reach level 18 after the ninjas. Afterward, there's no need to do that. You just reach the level 80 after 5 benevolence. Wait, no, 6 6 benevolence. So there's that. There's interesting fight skips in this Prologue. They happen a bit later. Oh no, there's one here, just in the next room. Here, by being up here, you can jump and roll above the wall and skip this fight. This one, we can't do anything about it, so we just roll on the right, so we're far enough from the group on the left. And then on the pond down there, oh no, it's in the next room. Oh, thank you for moving this way. It's not always you can dodge this fight, but yeah, in the pool here you have to jump and roll directly here so you can skip this fight. And the funniest skip here is this one. I'm going to do something that's ridiculous and should not work.
They don't.
And yet,
some of these encounter circles make no sense.
Yeah. This one is absolutely counterintuitive, and yet it absolutely works every time. Just jump behind on the wall, and you're like 2 millimeters away from them, and yet they don't see you. And we're done with Burka Island with that, because we're getting saved by the best boy of the game.
Too bad we can't let any cutscenes play.
Oh, but doesn't matter. We'll be able to play him.
We'll see him plenty.
And some of the very
so now
nice,
this is the point.
Some of the very nice quality of life they added in this game is that they removed some of the backtracking you have to do. So right after being saved by the scav, you in the original you just a side of the city of of Jad. No, not Jad. It's Palo. But here in the remake, they directly teleport you to Bolsena to talk to the king. So that's pretty nice.
You still have to run all the way to the king and then run all the way back.
Yeah, but it's also something they did on the earlier part of the game, between Geoliton and Harsipit. They changed a few destinations of the boats, so you don't have to. So they removed a couple back and forth you had to do between towns. So they really did a great work with this remake. Alright, so now the king is gonna tell us the position of the two next elemental spirits, which are water and fire. I don't know the English name, I'm sorry. I know they are different from the French ones, so that's unfortunate. So here I got a flute, which is the best instrument. And with this flute, we're gonna be able to call the scab. But to call the scab, we need to go to a beach, and there's no beach. Sorry. Around Volsina, so we have to go back to Palo to go to the one on the Golden Road.
And these guys are really accurate with their calculations of these cannons, man.
Yeah. Well, Bon Voyage is not very good, but every other member of his family is. Because the first time you take the Bon Voyage cannon, he sends you all the way on the other side of the Molbert Moors instead of sending us directly to Bolsina.
So yeah, this is kind of, the classic moment where you get the ability to traverse the world map, in Classic.
Yeah. And you get to choose what you want to do, but... Alright, so
Only a little bit.
Alright, so I'm setting the shortcut for the flute, so I don't have to open the ring menu, which is slow. I just have to press the R button and one of the main button to reach it, so that's faster. And now that we have the scab, we can honk.
Yeah, and like we started to say, you do actually have a choice here in the game. It actually lets you go either to the desert or to Altena. And Aelenwa is going to choose to go to the desert first because the boss that you fight is going to scale up in levels based on which one you go to first. Is that why you choose to go here first? You want Bill and Ben at a lower level?
So, as a matter of fact, these two bosses do not scale. You can do.
Oh, they don't at all.
They don't at all. They
I'm
are the
wrong.
same level. You're right.
And it's for the weapon pickup, isn't it?
The Benevolence does, but these two ones doesn't.
You go here for the weapon pickup then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And interesting any percent stuff. Again, we mentioned earlier that there's a lot of ways to go out of bounds and mess up the progression of the game, but the story triggers are extremely strict. So even if you can get there, you can't really do anything. This point in the game is one of the very few spots where it's actually kind of a weak quest trigger, because what the quest is saying is find the water and the fire spirits. More or less. It doesn't tell you to go to the desert and get the fire spirit and fight the boss. It just says get the spirits. So we can actually skip all the bosses in this section of the game because the story trigger actually is fairly weak here.
And as I was saying earlier, in earlier part of the route, some of us were doing this next fight at class 1, and I was doing it with Kevin as my main character. So here I usually got a sword upgrade, and I did the next fight as a solo Terran, and it was very fun to do. And that's not very hard to do, like that. Okay. But really, never do the next fight as class 1 solo. It's you're gonna tilt for nothing. I got a big road. That's unfortunate. Yep. I'm just gonna pick up the blue jar around here, so I get 200% at least on every character, which is good for the beginning of the ninjas. I will just be able to spam every CS and get their life down to the division trigger faster.
Yeah, we didn't mention it the first time we fight this boss, but once the boss reaches 50%, even if you drop it below 50%, both bosses will still come out with the same amount of HP, unless you are in New Game Plus and completely maxed out, and you can completely kill it before it splits.
It's actually
in which case you can kill the boss.
It's actually possible to do on the speedrun setting. Just a second. Jack, I want to equip you with bonus HP 2, and I set up the support only. And I equipped the claw. I don't want to make any mistake. Okay, healing the run. It's actually possible. I almost did it at 1 pixel because I pressed the wrong CS. I have a video proof of that. but it's extremely hard to do. Alright, so I want to def down. So here Kevin CS dropped the boss armor, and I can do this. I want you to go against the wall to use the CS, but I want you to use the CS, please. And here I'm not...
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yep. So I was just going to say that this boss, it's the same one that we just fought, Bill and Ben, but he has a few new tricks. Shuriken, just as deadly. He has a couple different combos. For the most part, pretty much the same stuff. So
that should be enough for division. So you have to wait for him to end his attack, so he can queue up the division in this move. So now I'm gonna immediately use CS swap, trigger the defense down on both enemies. Then I'm gonna do this, wait for Kevin to end up before CS swapping. Oh no! No, that's okay. I have no idea where the other one is, because my camera is not...
That's okay. You can recover. So your setup didn't quite work there, but it's just a little bit slower. Trying to get, again, it's the same strategy as with Bill and Ben. One, you want them to be grouped up so that your combos are hitting both of them, but they're not being very nice here, so it just takes a little time.
No, because unfortunately Prologue doesn't work at 100%. And when it doesn't, it really doesn't. Also,
They're being extremely unkind.
You have to be very careful with how you kill Bill and Ben, because if you kill one too early, the other one will resurrect it.
Yeah, it's one of those. The next boss, you're going to have a different reason to kill them carefully. Very different.
Yeah.
Which is soft locking your game.
Oh yeah, that can happen. I never triggered it. So thanks for jinxing.
Yeah, you might want to touch the save statue before that boss. You might want to do it just for safety anyway. Yeah. You don't want it to be the first time you get a soft lock and have to redo that whole traversal. Yeah, so that boss
was something that could happen.
Pretty normal. And I wonder which elemental spirit is in here. It's a little bit hard to tell.
That's a good question.
It could really be anything, but you know. Yeah, we cannot dodge the fights here. They are the corridors are too narrow for that. I mean, I've had it happen a couple times, really luckily, but there is definitely within this game. This game doesn't have a lot of RNG overall. It's just, you know, like Bill and Ben, you want them to group up. There's definitely RNG there. Most of the RNG is just from enemies, these encounters skips. Some of them are really consistent, some of them just depend on which way the enemies are facing and how they feel on a given day.
Alright, so we have a cutscene with I think it's Belladonna in the remake. And the second one where she activated the Mana Stone, because that's what the bad guys are trying to do. They want to activate the Mana Stones, release the power of the Mana Stones in order to open the portal to the Mana Sanctuary, so they can get the Mana Swords for themselves to resurrect.
Yeah, am I wrong? Is that the cutscene where we got Reese's brother back too?
No.
Or was that earlier?
No, you never get him back before the end game.
Oh, that is in the end? Okay, I thought it was earlier. That's my bad.
This is the part where you get back Jessica, which is Hawkeye's girlfriend.
Right. This is Hawkeye's. Right. Okay.
Hawkeye, so Hawkeye... Wow, I had a game freeze. That's first one. Whatever. Hawkeye is the counterpart of Reese in the Archpin story. So he's part of the ninjas, and the ninjas are a guild of thieves. And one day Belladonna arrived. She basically brainwashed the leader of the the thieves, and they decided to transform the guild into a kingdom and to conquer the castle of Laurent. So that's why the invasion happened. And
Yeah.
I'm not even sure there's a real reason for that, but
Well, the whole villain plot the whole time was to, get the crystals. It's always the same thing.
oh yeah, right. And
Um,
so at one point, Belladonna extended her brainwashing to basically every single ninjas of the guild, which forced Hawkeye to kill his own best friend. And unfortunately, since Belladonna used a weird necklace on Jessica, so the Hawkeye's girlfriend, she could not brainwash her, and instead she was just taken hostage. But now she's saved, which is good.
okay, so now we're going to be going right to the outskirts of Altena for the water spirit. And like I mentioned before with the story trigger here, if you notice the in the top right, the objective to find the elemental spirits, it's the same exact objective as it was before we picked up the fire spirit, which is just, the proof that it's kind of weak trigger here. So that Bill and Ben fight is actually unnecessary to continuing the story.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, so he's going south here to wrap around because the world is definitely round. Definitely round. You can wrap around. And we're here already.
It's very weird though, because in this remake, before doing the whole wrap out, there's a big foggy area you have to traverse, which makes wrapping around the world with Flammy way slower than just going from one side to the other. I don't know why they did that. Alright, so after the desert we have the whole icy area. Because of course.
Which is another section of, traversing, skipping the encounters.
Yep.
At any percent, there's actually a really cool sequence of out of bounds jumps and things to skip most of this traversal.
Oh yeah, there's a new strategy now. Actually, you see this fight here. I'm gonna run into. You can. I'm literally stuck between the enemy and the tree, whatever. Instead of running away, you jump above the tree that there's on the right side of the fight, and by doing this, you can jump above the walls of the arena and go directly to the end of the area without triggering the boss fight, because you're still considered inside a fight since you never ran away.
Yeah, that sounds new and the same. So,
yeah,
that's cool.
So here I'm
gonna. Yeah, you're gonna touch the statue. You're gonna heal. You're gonna heal. Okay. So this next boss is the first refight for the golems, and this is an extremely dangerous fight. Actually, instead of 2 golems like there were earlier in the game, we have 3, and they have some really, really dangerous magic that can completely one-shot characters, or some of them it can petrify your characters, which is very, very dangerous. This was very reset heavy for players, for new runners too. But we do have sabers unlocked on Durant now, and we're going to be using the wind saber because, I guess is it lightning? It's probably lightning. Lightning saber on Kevin, and to deal almost twice as much damage. The elemental weaknesses are really important. And then we're going to be doing a series of CS swaps there to make sure that the side characters use their DSs for pretty high DPS. And then he's going to try and be positioning his combos so that this big sweeping 4th hit is hitting at least 2 of them. So you can see right there, 1 spell took out like nearly everything.
My biggest concern here is the Stone Cloud abilities they can use, which has a chance to petrify. And
Which is very slow.
if Duran gets petrified, he will not pull the enemy's attack to him. So I lose the ambush bonus, and also the fight gets more difficult because the magics will be targeted at me, so I have to dodge them. But otherwise, it was a pretty good fight.
Yeah, that was definitely fast. And you didn't soft lock, so.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys did that.
It's been a long time, but it has something to do with because the enemies, they're coded to not die unless they cast that explosion. They end up they only actually die when they do the self-destruct. If you reduce their HP to 0 during certain other animations or certain other attacks, it will just break their code and they'll never cast the self-destruct and they'll just stand there.
Ah, I see.
And you can't do anything. It's not common. They might have even patched it because a lot of times when that stuff happened, it was in the old patch.
There's an issue I used to have with the game that I don't think it's been patched out, but I can just skip the part now. Is that when I do the class up, sometimes the game would crash during the animation. But since we can now skip the class change animation, I can just avoid the crash.
Oh yeah. It's been a long time since I've run. I even forgot that they added that.
It's about
the section, yeah, when you are class changing. In the old patch, the split for changing your class was like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was so slow. Alright, so now we have 2 of them, and now, again, the quest trigger is now get the moon spirit, specifically, the lunar spirit. So, it's back to these strong triggers. But the little nice feature of the next area is that it's Kevin's homeland and where the moon spirit is, and because the moon spirit is there, it affects the moon and the sun and things, and it's always nighttime.
Yeah, that's something very good. Is that it's the same thing on the ghost ship. So after Laurent, after freeing Laurent, you always the day night cycle is always the same. Whatever happens because of these 2 areas that always set the time as beginning of the night. So never have an issue.
So it's pretty much a free dream read.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the gameplay is keeping things pretty close. It just turned day as we finish this area, and then we go to the woods, and it'll be nighttime, and it'll reset the timer for us.
And of course, a Trials of Mana run is not a real run if you do not honk. So never forget to honk. Alright, so here in this town, we're gonna buy a few upgrades, which we haven't done in a while, because the last upgrade we could have bought was not as strong as the weapon we got in the chests. But this time, we're gonna buy an upgrade for Duran and Reese, because actually, Kevin's current weapon is one you can buy in the shop, so there's no point in upgrading him. Here's. Now that above this, we're gonna train, go to strategy, set Duran to always attack, then go to evolution, give him 9 points so he gets attack saber. We remove bonus HP and get attack saber on Duran. So attack saber is a very interesting ability you can get for Duran. When he uses an elemental saber on an ally, it changes its element, but it will also increases the damage he deals by 15% without taking into account the elemental weakness. So that's just a free damage boost.
And it stacks with attack up, status, and everything like that as well. Now that and personal style is why Duran is fast. So this boss is one of the bosses in this game that is kind of like human-sized. He's like kind of like a humanoid enemy, which actually he has a lot less poise. He's actually easier to stagger, and we might see some of that intentionally done here to make him do as few moves as possible, keep him in place so that the DPS can be really high. Because this boss can be really nasty. If he can be he can do huge damage to either, you know, Kevin or random party members, or be really hard to hit. He can be really evasive, dashing around the screen and things like that, which is slow. But you can see throughout all of those class strikes that he was doing, and even, you know, sometimes the normal attacks, class strikes are guaranteed to get this stagger animation. So he's almost done no attacks also, all the way up to here. And now we already got a stun, and he's barely done anything. And we're gonna... So this is a big part of the Class 2 combat, is what he just did there with Kevin. When an enemy is stunned, they, like we mentioned before, they take like double damage. But certain class strikes have the property where it locks the enemy in place. We call them, you know, they lock or whatever. Like, and what it does, it's not really a stun. It literally freezes the enemy in time, and they just and they're just there, which can extend the amount of time that they're stunned. So usually, by the way, very nice boss fight. He did almost nothing, and he went down very, very fast. But you can so you want to stun them, DPS with Kevin for most of the stun timer, and then lock them in place with Kevin's CS swap, and then continue the DPS with your side characters to, you know, deal as much damage as possible.
It's very funny because Luca is one of the hardest boss to do in the original game, and here is just trivial. It's just so easy to do once you get the CS swap done right.
And also, we just got another very, very powerful shared skill that belongs to Kevin, Beast Roar, which is just a 20% attack increase. Is that it?
I think it's 15%. Not sure.
15.
I haven't read it in a while.
But you know, it's just another flat attack damage increase. It wouldn't apply to spells. It's specifically attack combos.
I don't remember.
Or was it just damage? Is it just 15 or 20% damage?
No, I think the condition is just it applies on boss.
Ah, okay, yeah. So just boss damage, which is the only things we will be fighting for, I'm pretty sure, the rest of the run, unless we get unlucky.
There's a mandatory fight in the next area. But
yeah, there's one. Yeah, in chat, Smelly is correcting me because
bosses. Yeah,
10% sounds right. He's a little bit smarter than me. It's fine. Yeah, I'm remembering now because when we would always equip that on Angela when we run with Angela because she does a lot of damage to bosses. So we only have one spirit left, if I'm not wrong.
Yep. Which is
this area is this next area is probably my favorite in the any % run because we skip it.
That's a interesting way to see things. I love areas because we don't go through it.
No, but really, this area is really nice.
Yeah, it's very pretty. The lamb bloom flowers are very pretty. I was trying to find a
I think the traversal design is pretty nice and things like that. So,
yeah. So
but yeah, this is the last like traversal. Yep. No,
it's very interesting. Just after running away from this fight, I'm gonna allow Reese to use her CS because there's a mandatory fight here. And by letting Reese using her CS, she's gonna immediately use her CS and almost kill everyone. Except she missed one.
At least it wasn't one of the flyers.
Yeah.
It goes down quick.
This way. And now I would disable it. Alright.
Yeah, because it's been a long time since you mentioned it, but if you don't do that menuing and tell them to not use their CS, when you just randomly get into these encounters, and you're trying to instantly run away, but the AI does whatever it wants. They love to just immediately use their CS,
Yeah.
and just waste all of that potential DPS we can be pumping into the bosses.
You can also do the same for healing items and other abilities like magic, things like that.
Also, the AI settings can actually be really interesting for how you want to play, even if it's just casually. In the speed run, it definitely has potential. I think there are some runners that mess with the settings a lot. But for instance, if you set them to not attack and not use items and everything, they'll like be superhero dodge rolling everything because their AI is doing nothing but dodging.
Yeah.
But it can keep them alive, and then you can micromanage them in combat. You can tell them to use their spells. So, like for instance, when you used Angela in a run, who is like the mage character of the game, you would set her to do nothing, and you would just micromanage her spells the whole game. So when you're not controlling her, she dodges really well, and then you can do like the best possible, spell buffering and things to get her to cast as much as possible. So.
That's the idea of what we're doing with Duran against the ninjas and the robots. We're disabling everything he can use. Even just he's set up to support only, so he has the for rule to never attack the enemies. But at the same time, he has he's not able to use his spells and CS, so he's just do nothing. And this way he can dodge most of the attacks, especially useful against the golems since they use a lot of spells.
And now this next boss that we're coming up to is a little bit weirdly designed, but hopefully everything goes well. It can be...
Excuse me, got the wine going well? Nah, I'm kidding. It's been quite. It's been more consistent recently the fight, but Get the Vine is probably like one of the most annoying bosses. Otherwise, he can do.
Yeah, he definitely has more RNG than some of the other bosses. There are some attacks that he can do where he just completely pulls his hurt box away and you can't really damage him. There are some attacks that he can do where his hurt box is sitting there for a long, long time. So he's one of the few bosses that actually doesn't stun, I'm pretty sure. He doesn't have any kind of desperation attack. So we're just dealing with the RNG and hoping that he uses good attacks. Also, it starts the fight with these ads, but we're actually going to not worry about them in particular, because this first part of the fight, we want to reduce the boss's health by about 20%. So like that, and he'll go invulnerable while his main body comes out, and you can clean up any ads that are still alive and stuff here. And now we just hope for the good RNG here. What you want to hit is the actual face, like where Aelenwa did the CS there. The face takes significantly more damage, the body takes good damage, the legs take almost no damage. So whenever the head goes up, that's bad RNG. We want the head down as much as possible so that Aelenwa can use the sliding attack combo to hit the head, and usually also the body. You can usually hit both with one. And so far, the RNG has been pretty good, so... Yep, there's another CS swap on the head. Get big damage, and it should go down. One more combo. Good. That RNG was like, I'd say it's kind of average.
It's okay, yeah. As long as for how bad this fight can go, as long as you don't like even have one death, it's not a bad fight.
Yeah. And that is the last spirit. So in terms of story, we're now heading to... there's a particular island we need to head to combine the power of the spirits and open the portal, or open the way to, where the Sword of Mana is, in the Sanctuary of Mana.
Unfortunately, you won't see any of this because all you will be able to see is black screen. for
It
like
is an extremely long
30
set
seconds.
of cutscenes because it's extreme. I mean, this is the turning point in the plot right here. Well, not. I'm jumping the gun a little bit because I'm filling the retraversal time.
No, that's a major turning point because at this point, so you try to open the portal with the spirit, but it seems to work. But then the fairy turns back to you, and she's like, "It's not me. The portal opened itself." And then you realize that because the energy of the 8 mana stone has been released, so there's a big portal to the mana sanctuary that comes up in the sky, and then you see every team of enemies just taking their air ride to the portal and dropping a bomb to you. And I wish I was kidding, but they literally all attack you from the air. So that's pretty funny to see.
Yeah,
And,
it's really funny because you mentioned earlier that the villains are trying to, release the power of the crystals so that they can get the Sword of Mana. Everybody wants the Sword of Mana, the villains and the heroes. So while we were doing all the work and getting all these spirits, we did all the work for the villains, and the villains spent all that time just chilling out and getting their airships ready. They're all good to go and fly up.
They did their own thing. They released the energy of the Mana Stone. That's not our doing. That was our plan. We were trying also to avoid that.
But they were spending enough time to get their airships ready for the moment it happens.
Yeah, also. And now that it's done, they are all coming together on the Mana Sanctuary, and they are basically at war with each other. Which means at the end of the Mana Sanctuary section, only one team will come out alive, and this depends on your protagonist, on who's your protagonist is. If you're playing Duran or Angela, you will have the team of the Dragon Emperor that will emerge victorious. If you're playing Kevin or Charlotte, it will be the Masked Mage, the Dark Lich, that will stay alive. And if it's Riz or Hawkeye, it will be the Archfiend, the Dark Prince.
They don't. The final bosses, they don't show up here at all, do they? It's just Isn't it just the lieutenants fighting each other?
Yeah, it's the lieutenants because they want to use most of them want to use the Mana Sword to resurrect their leader or empower them or something like that.
Yeah, I mean the game story. It's really the villains themselves actually have some decent motivations as to why they're doing this. I actually liked some of these characters, as dated as some of them are. Some of them are actually pretty good. So
yeah.
But more importantly, this next section, we unfortunately we didn't make a big moment of it, but we did say goodbye to Vuskov right there.
Yeah, that was the last time we were gonna use
so
him.
we can get a few more honks. A little late, but
we are leaving Best Boy, but instead we're gonna find
we get
Best Girl.
Exactly.
Because, well, the portal is open in the sky, so we need to find a way to reach it, and we're gonna find the how
it's
is
an
it
airship.
called in English? It's
an airship. Yeah.
How is it called in English? I don't remember.
I always just I don't remember that specific detail. Did they not call her a dragon at all? I'm pretty sure she's a dragon.
No, they don't.
I think that's what the word they use.
In French, they call her the protecteur des cieux, so protector of the skies. Yeah, Flammy is her name, but I'm looking for the kind of title name thing.
Yeah, it's something similar, defender of the skies or protector of the skies or something like that. Yeah, I remember that being it's something.
Protector, allez. The winged protector.
Winged protector. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Oh, now we have 3 different answers in chat. So.
That's great. I love this area. The sky is red. Just in the intro cutscene, the sky is just red.
It's because we're on Mars now.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Perfect. But yeah, this is another point. Classic JRPG. You get a boat and then you get an airship, and this is the point where we're getting the airship.
But that's way more cooler than an airship. Even if it doesn't honk, it's way cooler.
He makes some noises.
Yeah, true.
She says things. Winged Defender. Okay, everybody was wrong. Both of us and everybody in chat. So
Yep.
we used every other combination of those words, though. But yeah, this actually, there's going to be one more area of kind of just traversing through. There is a cool skip, the hardest glitchless skip for sure, coming up. But then it's going to be, you know, the Benevodon boss rush. In the last hour of this estimate, it's probably... Aelenwa's going pretty fast, so it's going to be... It's not going to be 3 hours unless things go horribly wrong in the late game. There's like 13 bosses. That's a guess of how many boss fights there's going to be just in this last hour of the estimate. So definitely the most exciting, and also a lot of them are very dangerous.
Very hard
but
skip.
Okay, yeah, this the stream is just getting to it. This is the hardest glitchless skip in the game, and he missed it on the first try. So this little platform is very thin. He missed it a couple times. So this saves you like 45 seconds almost. But in order to make this skip, you have to land on the platform and then continue to run.
That's
and then the running momentum into the jump, and then you use the 120 FPS or possibly 60 FPS full height jump, 2 attacks, and then a roll, and you can skip opening one of those shortcuts there.
Well, I wish I had 120 FPS. Unfortunately, well, people can see it because it's displayed on the screen on the lower left part of my game screen. But I don't have 150 FPS, even if that's the maximum cap you can set.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
Enough.
The stream shows you're at like around 100 or so. It's varying, but
it only matters for 40%. On Glitchless, it's fine.
Yeah, so this, I don't think they patched anything in the patch that they had. I mean, it's been months now since that patch, but I don't think they patched any of the like FPS height jump things. Anything you could skip by jumping. They didn't really patch much of the glitches. They patched some of the glitches that had to do in any percent that had to do with the way that the game autosaved.
The most important thing they patched is the serum abuse.
Yeah. So, of course. I never ran it with the serum, so I forgot. But yeah, like we mentioned it right at the beginning. But the any percent, the true any percent for this game, you have to be on old patch, because there's an item in this game, you'll never see it unless you use the item seed. So you're not going to see it in Glitchless run, but you can get items that increase your stats. They're called serums, and there's one for each stat. And in the old patch, a character could use as many of them as you want. You can just max out their stats using them. But
not really, because there's a specific way the seeds are coded, in that once you get 10 of one serum, you can never get any more from the seeds.
Does that include from duplicating the items?
But duplicating works. However, when they patched it, you could still duplicate serum, but their effects will just disappear once you use 10 of them.
Right. So in the true any percent, you can just reuse them using duplicating to max out your character stats, which is definitely the fastest way to go, but you spend a long time just using items over and over and over again. It's very boring, but it's fast.
That's the thing. That serum inside seeds is something we checked with someone that I shall not name, because we noticed that once you get the 10th serum, like we edited the save so that we made it so that like the 20 next seeds would give us the same serum, and we played it to see what we were getting, and after you get the 10 one, the games will rewrite the whole list of items you're supposed to get in the seeds to give you other items. It's pretty funny to see.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the glitchless stuff. We are coming to the desert fortress. because this is well, we were talking about Ampersand for a little while there. So once we picked up the Sword of Mana, your chosen root's villain, in this case Belladonna, captures
Oh yeah, by the way,
your fairy.
we have the Sword of Mana. By the way.
Yeah, so right now we have the Sword of Mana, but they capture fairy. And so we, being the upstanding JRPG protagonists we are going to trade the Sword of Mana for fairy. Which is obviously great, because we get to save our friend, but, you know, we're going to doom the world to destruction, so, you know, it works. So that's why we went there. We meet the villains in their home base, and immediately the villains take the sword and they use its power to release the Benevolence from the mana crystals, which were being used to imprison them.
And now this is the most stressful part of the run, where even if you're on a good base, everything can go wrong and you can get very far behind.
Yeah, so this right here, this is the start of the late game. These are the Benevolons. You can do them in any order you would like. All of them, more or less, all of them scale up as you defeat them. So the one you do first is the weakest, and they scale up. So the degree to which they scale is different. And so the order that you pick, their runners definitely do it in different orders. There are some consistencies. Aelenwa is going to be doing Figmon first here, which a lot of runners actually put him last, at least back in the day. I mean, it might be different now.
No, the current route is that when people start the Benevolent route, they just start with Xanbi because it's what is deemed to be the hardest, and they just go from who's the closest, with keeping Vanguard last, since there's no question marks in this dungeon.
Yeah, but we're going to be doing Figmon here first because Aelenwa has practiced pretty extensively a one cycle on this boss, which is very difficult. Because more or less this is using the same mechanic that we mentioned earlier, where there's going to be a Desperation Attack and they're going to get stunned. And Aelenwa is going to be doing a whole series of CS swaps that are pretty tight to kill him in one stun, if successful. Most runners will do it in the average. You're normally going to do this in 2 cycles in a run. When I was doing it, we did it last with the most life, and you still get to 2 cycles. So he's going to start here by, you know, setting up, getting Fire, Saber up, getting Personal Style up, and getting the boss's life to a particular point that he wants it to be at. Or maybe he's just wailing away, doing as much damage as possible. So this is the start of the Desperation Attack. He's going to call down these Icicles. And you just have to break them before the timer runs out while dealing with ice physics on the ground. And then he's going to come down and stun. And this is where Aelenwa is going to hopefully execute. So let's see if he can get it.
No! It's going to be 2 cycle because I didn't swap.
Oh! Yeah.
Because...
So...
what happened here is that when I swapped to Riz, it was the exact same moment she decided to use a power attack, and it threw me a bit off. So I tried to swap, but it was already at the end of the attack. So what I wanted to do is that sorry, this twice.
Describe how the one cycle's supposed to go.
So what's supposed to happen is that once you swap with Riz, I try to... oh, I don't have enough input. It's gonna be a 3 cycle because... no, okay. The idea is that once you swap with Riz to Duran is supposed to run to the 3 next 3 blue jar to get enough CS % back so that once Kevin is done with his CS, he can just go use another just afterwards, and then you do another CS with Riz, and that's just enough to one cycle Figmoon, and this can only be done on Figmoon if you do it first, because the scaling on HP of every bosses is different, and Figmoon is very dumb in that he's the one that gains the most HP on the scaling, and mainly when you when he goes from first to second, he gains 50% more HP. So that's very dumb.
He's also one of the easiest bosses for sure. So a lot of people, and the scaling, because I mean you're also getting more powerful as you're leveling up. Usually, even if you do him last, it's still usually a 2 cycle. So it doesn't really change the real time that much. But yeah, you have to do him first if you want that 1 cycle. So now I think you're going to be doing a pretty standard order here. So most runners would start here instead of doing Figmoon first, because not a lot of people have implemented that 1 cycle yet. And this is Zambier, and Zambier is pretty dangerous. The reason that we do it first most of the time is because it's very dangerous, and you want it to have as little life as possible, as little damage as possible. Because what we saw with Figmoon is that for the most part, any attacks that were coming out, there weren't that many of them, and they were pretty well telegraphed and pretty easy to dodge. This boss, while does most attacks from most bosses are pretty well telegraphed, there's a lot of damage in this fight that's just kind of unavoidable. It's really hard to... If they use certain attacks, you just kind of have to eat them. So... we'll see how it goes. Are you going to be trying to do any manip of the health for the Desperation?
No, because I don't know how to do that.
Okay, that's fine. So this is another, like I mentioned a while ago with Harsapete, with some of these bosses have, they'll do Desperation Attacks based on how much % life they have remaining. And, you know, you can skip their phases based on, well, they change phases based on how much life they have. So this boss, there's a point right around like 55 or so where it will stay in phase 1 before it does Desperation. Because this boss is phase 2, you really don't want to see it, because it puts up a shield where it takes significantly reduced damage, and it's just pretty slow. So
here it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So wait. Oh yeah, he didn't do Desperation, so you actually got the bad phase right here. So this tornado form, he's taking significantly less damage. As you can see, you're only doing, you know, like a couple hundred, and he's doing really dangerous beam attacks that can like one-shot your party. But he'll probably go into the Desperation here. Yeah, so this is a Desperation attack. But as you can see, there's a ton of pretty unavoidable damage. The orbs rotating around the head, if they pass through your character, they're doing pretty significant damage, and he just kind of comes down and, you know, hangs out with you all the time. But assuming that everybody stays alive here, we'll get the stun, and the boss will go down not so bad. I have mentioned that a lot of these bosses are pretty dangerous. And beginner, they might not seem that dangerous, but if you up the difficulty, there's a lot of people that have run Glitchless hard. It's decently popular, or it was at least. That's really hard. These bosses are really dangerous and very punishing if you lose. So, but that was a good fight. You did get the weird phase 2 no Desperation thing, but you know, you handled it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up this.
Yeah, in chat, somebody mentioned the 3rd class up. So the 3rd class power spike in this game is frankly just ridiculous. If you have good party members and you pick like the most powerful upgrade path, you're just so strong that it's kind of silly. So there have been people that have tried to route in like a lot more experience, because with the way the XP route works here, the class 3 happens at level 38. And we're going to be reaching 38, possibly some characters will be 39 after 6 Benevolons. 5, you're going to fight 5. No, yeah, it's 6. And then there is only going to be 1 remaining that will fight in class 3. And when we get there, you'll see the difference of how fast that boss will die.
Yeah.
Do you know in a casual playthrough, about when they expect you to get class 3? Is it, you know, a couple
At the start
benevolence in or
of the
something?
benevolence. It's at the start of the benevolence.
But you don't have any question mark seeds.
No,
So
but
it
you
can't
have
be bad.
to go pick them up. But I'm pretty sure you're like maybe 36 when
You're
you
like
start the
mid
benevolence.
30s at that point or whatever. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
gonna go here to pick this chest up because they have 3 Cup of Wishes here, which is the item that resurrect allies. Since I've been using a few since the beginning of this run.
Yeah, and I would just mention question mark seeds, but this game, in order to class up to class 3, you need to get these specific items called literally question mark seed. And we haven't interacted with the mechanic at all, but casually you'll do it a lot. There's these pots near inns and, you know, certain save points in towns and friendly areas where you can put in a seed and it pops out a random item. And that item pool is pretty distinct from the items that you'd get in normal chests or from enemy drops. Like we mentioned, the stat serums and stuff when we were talking about any percent. Those are special items in the item seed pools. The question mark seeds specifically give you items that are required to, you have to consume them in order to class up to a certain class. So we're going to be picking up 6 of them. Because
There's
the way
something.
that they actually do you know, do you want to explain the how they work when they hatch, when they sprout?
Yeah, the when you pick up the what's contained into a seed is defined the moment you pick them up, and when it does, the game reads what items you already have in your inventory and in the queue of the item seeds, and he defines the next item to be not one of the one you have, what you're going to have. So there's some kind of anti-dupe system which is new to the remake and very appreciated.
Yeah. So for example, if you get a seed and use it immediately to class somebody up, the next seed you get could possibly give you a repeat item. So we get 6 all at once and we hatch them all at once so that we definitely guaranteed get 1 of each. But anyway, this is Light Gazer. Light Gazer's a jerk. His hitboxes are a little bit weird. He's got some attacks that can be really dangerous. He can very easily inflict attack down on characters. And he can also cast light. Since he is the light Benevodon, he absorbs light damage. So he'll cast Lightsaber on your characters.
I've made a big mistake.
So like he just did it on Durin right there. He cast Lightsaber, which would make Durin's damage actually heal him. And in order to counteract that, you actually have to cast a new saber. So you really don't want that cast on Kevin because, you know, it's kind of slow.
I used too many sabers. Duran cannot
yeah,
test another one.
Yeah, you're low on MP, so fight might end up being a little bit slow. But once you get to this point, you're usually able to chain Desperation Attacks because you're going to get a huge amount of damage from all the CS swapping here during the stun. And then...
No, that's what I wanted to... please tell me I have something for that. Yes! So here I used an herb that removes every status effect I had on me because I prefer not having a saber than having one that kills the boss.
Yeah. And even though this boss is weak to Dark and we don't have Dark Saber, we're missing out on what we mentioned earlier, the Attack Saber skill from Durin, which would give Kevin an extra 15% attack. But it did not affect you, really. It's the same 2-cycle timing that you're used to, so
yeah.
Easy fight. That fight gets a much, much worse if you put Light Gazer later, because Light Gazer scales really heavily. Is one of the more scaling bosses, so that can be... That was a 2-cycle and it was kind of close. If it had a lot more life with the same tools, it would be a 3-cycle or slower, so...
And since he's a boss that likes to teleport everywhere, the more time it takes, the more time you give him to do something, the more time you're gonna lose because he's gonna teleport everywhere. So very annoying.
This next boss will just stay in place the whole fight, which is nice.
But he can also cheat and kill you.
Yeah, this boss is, when I was running, he was my least. I was always extremely scared of this boss, but you can get it pretty consistent. I'm sure there's not going to be too much of an issue. I have to make it a little bit harder for you.
I can literally lose the fight if I press swap character at the exact wrong moment.
It's okay. Just tap the save statue and you can die. It's fine. Actually, wait.
No,
I keep thinking it's
no.
beginner. It actually doesn't matter. Never mind. I keep thinking that you actually need to. Even if you die, it's okay. It's
yeah,
beginner.
but I won't hit the statue because I'm doing this boss low life. Because while I don't have conflagration equipped anymore, when you change class, characters get new passives. And the one Kevin gets with his new class is a 10% damage bonus if he's under half of his HP.
Nice.
So I'm using the
So
poison
we just
here
doing
to
as much
lower
damage
my
as
health.
possible. Yes, we are on the way to Miss Ball here. And it can get a little bit dicey. The attacks, most of the attacks, we found really good ways of handling them, but what this boss really does like to do is insta-kill the other party members.
Yep.
Just absolutely demolish their life bars. So
we're gonna use the same trick we did for Bill and Ben and the golems. We're gonna here equip the ring on Reese so she can tank more, and Duran is gonna go back to up. I don't know why I picked that. Use the Dream Read.
yeah, make sure it's nighttime.
So super only, so he should dodge more attack. Alright, here we go.
And it's a pumpkin. So this one is weak to wind, so we're gonna put on the lightning saber. And you're gonna possibly cleave down the ads, kill them. But maybe not. They don't really do that much.
They
They
teleport
can
away.
if you're unlucky. Stream will catch up. Yeah. So, deaths, there are plenty of revival items, but Kevin is the sole damage source, and we have to rebuff him here, so... And I'm looking at his resources. Kevin does not have very much CS available, so we're gonna... it looks like Aelenwa is going to not reapply personal style right away, to save the CS to be able to use it during the stun, which will be coming up in not too long. Because he needs 200% in order to use the CS that locks the boss in place and increases the amount of time you're stunned. So this is a little bit slower because of not having that attack up, but when the boss stuns, they actually drop a whole bunch of CS as well, so he'll be okay. Even though, so he probably could have done it a little bit earlier, but yeah. This attack in particular, if you don't dodge that correctly, you just die instantly. The thorns, when they're crossing like that, no good. Okay, so this boss is actually, I've mentioned the different types of like desperation attacks and stuns. This is a boss where it always stuns at right around the same health threshold.
And here's why Duran CS2 is so good. Some of the bosses get their stagger animation reset when this hits, and when they get hit by CS during the stagger animation, when they're trying to wake up, and by using Duran CS2, which does a lot of hit, you can just stun lock them like that. Alright. This palm is bad.
Yeah, this was kind of slow, but I mean, you didn't die. You're good.
Yeah.
But as you can see, Reese was dying all over the place. Duran got interrupted multiple times when he was trying to recast Lightning Saber. You know.
Yep. Also, there's a Death Down that definitely didn't go on the boss, and I don't know where it went.
Maybe one of the ads took it.
Probably.
Because of weird targeting. But it's alright. We got through it.
Yeah.
In a lot of these, the most dangerous Benevolons, you're usually happy to just get through it. Because most of them don't really have cycles. So I guess it's half and half. speaking of cycles, this one has a pretty important one cycle. It's, I think, 45 seconds or so if you miss it.
More than that. It's one of
a
the
minute.
slowest. It's one of the biggest time loss if you lose the first cycle. Because land number
So
is
this-
a boss is three-part. He has the main body, which is invulnerable at the start of the fight, and he has two hands that you have to destroy to make the body vulnerable. And at one point, the body will start charging an attack, and after coming up the stagger, he will resummon his two hands and come back invulnerable. So if you're too slow, you'll have to kill the hands twice, because you won't be able to focus the main body.
Yeah. But this fight is also extremely scripted. The boss will do pretty much the exact same pattern of attacks every time. Well, when the arms are out, there's a little bit of RNG as to what they decide to do. But once you break the arms and the body comes down, the entire sequence is completely scripted. It just depends on who he targets as the main person for the spells. So this can get pretty consistent, but you definitely need to practice it. And this is the reason this boss, I think, it gets really difficult to get the one cycle if you put him later than fourth or fifth. This is fifth, so fifth is doable. But if you do him like sixth or seventh, or if you do him sixth, it will be really difficult to get it. So
it's also the most funny boss to do in the New Game Plus categories, because you get access to every item. Notably, the most important item is the Magic Reflect spell that you can get on an item. And if you reflect the Diamond Missile he uses on himself on No Future, one of the New Game Plus difficulties, which is extremely difficult, you one-shot him.
amazing.
You deal exactly 999,999 damage.
Amazing. They must have known, right?
Probably.
Because that's like the cliche of, have the robot's arm penetrate itself because it's too hard to be penetrated,
Maybe. I'm not sure about that.
That, okay. Or it could be an oversight. I mean, who knows? We'll give them the benefit. So, yep. So here's the land number fight. Let's see how it goes. So do you still have Durin on the do nothing setup,
yep.
Or is he attacking? He's probably attacking.
I want him far from myself because the enemy use AoEs.
Yeah. So when both arms are destroyed, we do have Durin set to the do nothing, and he has taunt equipped. So hopefully the boss will target him once the arms are destroyed, but there is a chance that he does not target Durin right now. Which would be annoying. But let's see.
And one of the main interests here, the reason I use Duran CS is because during... Can you like not die, both die, please? The main reason I use Duran CS is that it has a long animation, and during the whole animation of the thing, he is invulnerable.
Yeah. So the boss did target Durin. So now, that was all completely scripted. Now we're doing hyper cannon. So we just need to make sure that we get this stun. Oh, you're plenty fine. Okay, yeah. And now you just kill him off. So he had plenty of damage, as you can see. He didn't even, CS swap during the stun or anything. But if the boss decided to target Reese or Kevin there, the AoEs would make it very difficult to get in all those attacks, as well as possibly just outright killing them. And again, if you don't kill him right there at the end of the cycle, you lose like a minute or so.
It's the easiest one cycle of the game. It's the easiest one cycle.
And Aelenwa missed it in his PB. Exactly. So now we've got Dolan, our good friend.
Which has the most impressive one cycle strat.
Yeah, very annoying traversal. Probably, I don't really like this, but it's fine.
Yeah, I hate this.
Yeah, this one cycle, I remember, are most runners getting the one cycle these days on Dolan? Or is it not so common?
Sure. Well, there's not that many runners this day that
Yeah, I'm
invest
just
that much
curious.
time in
So
one cycle, so
yeah, because this one cycle is a little bit different in the sense. I mean, there might be a different way to do it, but the way I remember doing it, you don't actually do the CS swaps specifically during the stun, or because we'll see how Aelenwa does it in a little bit. But the way I remember, there's a point where certain attacks. You'll see he's like a wall boss in the sense that he's got arms and a head, and he's like hanging over a cliff. A cliff boss, that's what. And sometimes the certain attacks, the hurt boxes will kind of overlap. And if you get a CS freeze when they're overlapping, you can like get a lot of damage. We'll see. But first, there's probably the most annoying time loss, because this is like the only like completely RNG time loss that is kind of a significant amount. There's going to be a chest at the top of this tower that has another question mark seed that we need. And there is enemies in the room, like right in front of the chest. But if you set your camera, whatever you set your camera a certain way, you run at a certain angle, you take all the superstitions you would like, there is a decent chance that you can run into the room, not start combat, and mash A and open the chest before combat. And if you can do so, you will get it. Let's see if he gets it. Ah, he missed it, just barely. So if he was able to reach that chest before the combat started, you would open the chest, get the seed, and then combat would start, and you can just run away. But since we absolutely need that chest, he has to fight this combat, because the enemies you'll never get a second chance. They're ready for you. And it's just faster to take them out. So this is like a 30-second time loss or so to fight that. And that's pretty much completely RNG. I've never seen anybody really consistently get it, so...
Yep.
That's okay.
Alright, so I'm gonna focus here because the strat is a bit difficult.
Okay, so you can explain it after. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Dolan. We're gonna start, as always, buffing up, getting personal style with the CS1 just for the attack upgrade.
Yeah, so here the idea is that I want him to get close as possible as... Come on, don't do that. As 50% as possible, but not under, otherwise I'm gonna trigger the second phase and it's gonna delay his super move that I want him to use.
Yeah, so that's like what we mentioned before. He's going to try and manipulate the health bar so that the boss pattern does what we would like.
Next attack should be Charge Graviton.
Let's see. And you can see how the arms, sometimes they're in front and they can overlap. Yeah, this is the attack. So right now, while the hitboxes are like that, you can see he's hitting 3 times with every single strike. It's hitting both arms and the body. So there's a lot of damage going out there. If he had done more damage before this Graviton attack, this Desperation attack would have happened earlier. And we would have definitely missed a 1 cycle. But now, what Aelenwa's going to do is the same kind of strategy. He's setting up multi-hits. He's going to CS swap. And then he's going to CS swap again, all during the same stun.
It didn't work. I went too fast.
You just barely. So he just barely missed it.
So he's gonna
if you had gotten
immediately
that
use
last
another
swap.
one.
Yeah, if you had done that last swap, you might have gotten it.
All right. It didn't go for a second cycle, so we're gonna say it's fine. It's a 1 cycle.
That is a 1 cycle. Yeah, RNG was in your favor.
Yeah.
It was very likely that not killing him right there, he would immediately pop back out and do the Desperation attack again, which would be the 2 cycle. But we got the 1, so it's all good.
It's very difficult to pull off, but once you get the rhythm, it's not that difficult. But still, it's very funny to see him get staggered like that by the Duran's tornado.
Yeah. And as you can see now, all the characters are level 38,
Yeah.
so we are going to become overpowered.
Exactly.
The only place you can get to class 3 is in the Sanctuary of Mana, so we have to come back here real quick.
Because
We
there's
have
no
to
mana
hatch the
stone now in the
seeds.
world. 5 and 6. Oh, just minerals in the last place, of course. Whatever. So now I have to open the menu and get the tutorial.
Yeah, so what he just mentioned there, one of the class change items, they actually can also just be used in battle to do various things. It just so happens that one of them, that the Durin's alternate class up item that we're not going to be using, applies Dark Saber, which will be very convenient for a refight later because we have no other way to get the dark element. So just a very convenient setup.
Alright, so here I'm gonna switch Duran to his Dark Light class because he's gonna get Attack Saber too, so upgrade to damage. And also he's gonna get the Sabers, but to apply on the whole team at the same time, so more damage, gain of time. Then next we have Kevin. Kevin is gonna go Dark because more damage, more attack. That's pretty much the only reason.
Yeah, the way that the classes are kind of set up thematically is, the light classes tend to be more, support, healer, or tank in like RPG terms, and the dark side tends to be, DPS type stuff, and it's not always true, but that's kind of how it is. So if you go dark, you're probably going to be punching things for lots of damage. If you go light, you're probably going to be pretty tanky, or you can dish out a lot of healing or whatever.
And then Reese is going for her dark path because she gets another upgrade to the efficiency of her debuffs. She gets a passive that makes that her debuffs never wear off. And she also can get the debuff in AoE, but we don't get that.
Yeah, there's not enough situations where there's multiple targets for it to be worth it. And also, it doesn't really save very much. It's just one extra cast, even if there were multiple targets. So, but yeah, you're about to see, because we're about to fight the last Benevodon in this section of the game, and it's going to die very, very, very quickly because the characters do incredible amounts of damage. In particular, Kevin's, because like we mentioned before, when you class up, you get an extended attack combo, you get more CS and more CS limit, and a new CS, as well as more slots for passives and a whole bunch more passives that you can pick up. And Kevin's new attack combo just does an incredibly amount of damage. Hold on.
What am I doing? It's this way. Also, the next boss has a little quirk about his blue bar, the one for the charged super attack. It does interact very weirdly with Kevin's new combo finisher. If you want to explain that.
I'm not actually sure what you are mentioning, what you're referring to, so maybe you should.
when you have an attack that has multiple hits, like for example Kevin base combo finisher, the combo finisher of his base class, one where he smash up then smash on the ground. You see, the damage are applied only when the last hit, when the last attack hit the target, and instead here. The bar of the enemy is going to get hurt for every single hit of the finisher.
Which means that he's going to be stunned immediately.
Exactly.
And this boss can actually be pretty difficult. We're like super overpowered right now because we just hit the class 3, which is actually the intended way to fight a lot of these bosses. You're supposed to fight, a few of them in class 2 and then in class 3 in the middle. But this boss can if you don't know how he works going into it, it can definitely be pretty tough. Because if the Desperation Attack, the stun bars, they don't last very long on this boss compared to other bosses. And if you miss a stun, he actually has different phases. If you get every stun, he actually doesn't have certain phases where he flies away and can does really dangerous attacks, and in the speedrun it would lose you a lot of time.
Also, they are very weird because instead of casting a big spell at the end of the cast, he does this boss does it during the casting animation.
Yeah, like he's gonna start. He's gonna do one attack and then like immediately put out a stun
Also,
attack. So
best boss music. High tension wire.
I do really like the visual design and stuff, like how they designed fighting the boss on Flammy. I love the design of how this looks. It's actually really cool. Fighting in midair on Flammy's back. So we get an immediate stun. And we're gonna do some CS swapping, and this boss is just
oh, I rolled too early.
Just dying. Oh.
This is fine! I never had any doubt!
Is there an achievement? You know, everybody's in critical life when you kill the boss?
Yes, of course, that's what I planned for.
Perfect. But yeah, that boss goes down really easy. Although, yeah, you know, really easy. But,
Easy.
okay, so now in terms of the story, that is all the Benevodons except for the Darkness Benevodon, which
Nobody knows what it is.
Well, all the stories I think they pointed, or are we about to figure out where it is?
Yes.
We're about to hear the stories.
Because we're gonna go to the city.
Well, oh no, I'm pretty sure the Darkness Crystal and therefore the Darkness Benevodon was in the one country that got banished into the void or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's where the Darkness Crystal was, because we heard that from the Darkness Spirit earlier.
Yeah,
but we need to find it. So we need to find some people that might know where that actually is. So we're gonna do something very inexplicable, which I still don't understand why this happens, like in the story, like what's actually happening here. Like if they explain why. But we're gonna sleep in an abandoned inn. So this is clearly a ruin, right? Clearly. And then we're gonna enter this inn. And we're gonna talk to the innkeeper. Clearly, there was an innkeeper there, and we're gonna sleep. We're gonna pay the invisible innkeeper to sleep there, and then we're gonna wake up, and we just time traveled. Hell yeah!
Easy.
So this is the same town, but you know, back in time, and of course they are selling. This is the best gear you can get from buying, so this is going to be the last shopping trip. We're going to upgrade Reese and Kevin's weapons to be as strong as they're going to be for the rest of the game. There are ultimate weapons for a casual playthrough using seeds and things like that, but we will not be getting them.
It requires a lot of grinding. And there is no gym prevention for this one, so yeah. Have fun with that.
But more or less, based on... This is actually funny. The dialogue of all these NPCs is different based on what route you're on. And every route you end up here in PETA, and you talk to all the same NPCs. But some of the dialogue is different because, more or less, what they're saying is they're saying, oh, the last known location of whatever, the kingdom or the Darkness Crystal or whatever, is wherever the boss of your route is.
Yep. So for us, it's in the Night Cavern.
If you were on the Dark Lich route, it would be right here in the Jungle of Visions. And if you were in the Dragon Lord route, it's in the... I forget the name of the island over there. But...
The Glass Desert?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like, so that sounds about right. But this zone here, the Night Cavern, is pretty cool.
I'm not sure about the name, I just did a literal translation from French.
I'm pretty sure it's Night Caverns, yeah.
No, I meant for the desert.
Oh. Yeah, that sounds right. We'll leave it there. Quick Annie percent thing. This is one of the areas in particular that we can go out of bounds and get to where... after this boss. So we're about to do a boss, but we can get out of bounds and go to where the next boss is. And he's standing there, but there's no trigger. We really wish we could just trigger the fight and skip a boss here, but we cannot.
Alright, so
But
here, focusing, now opening, Dream Read, and we skip the animation.
trying to get another animation skip of the day to night clock turning. So this is Aelenwa, which is honestly a pretty cool boss fight. We're gonna start the fight, and there's gonna be two heads that have different move sets. We have to take them out in order to spawn the actual move body.
So here we have to wait a little bit before being able to apply the debuffs on the main body, and I don't know why, otherwise just look at this. It goes through and doesn't work. Oh, it worked.
But now main body comes back and revives the heads, which if you're playing this casually, you can keep killing off the side heads, but periodically they'll keep getting resurrected.
Don't watch.
A lot of runners will kill the head on the left because it does some very annoying attacks that can make things kind of slow. Although the CS attacks can, kind of just AoE them down for a lot. Yeah, so he's going to go over there and take it out because it's being annoying. And then here again, this is a pretty easy one cycle. I've missed it in Pvs in the past. It's not so bad because without the heads on the side, she does some pretty dangerous attacks, but, we're just chilling out. Like, that attack does a lot of damage, but it's fine. We do a lot of damage, even though we're under-leveled. We can just CS swap at about, 40%. And kind of take it out. If it does start its Desperation Attack, it is completely invulnerable for quite a while. You have to destroy multiple orbs, and it's kind of annoying. So we actually did that one without a stun. That's how much damage we're doing. In all the previous fights, sometimes we would scrape by and one stun because we're taking advantage of all that double damage. But without even a single stun, we just, plow through the boss. So that was a good fight. But at this point, the fights, like we've been saying over and over again, are very quick. It's just a matter of optimizing the combos and things like that.
It's optimizing the CS swap to avoid getting the supercharge attack now, pretty much. Like for the next one, especially. Malokyo, which loves to troll a lot. He has he starts with an armor, and he can recast it on himself, even while he's being locked on the CS. That can happen, and that's very sad when you see a CS doing 200 damage at this point of the game.
Yeah, because for every single boss, we want 1 cycles now. We never want 2 cycles. So you can 1 cycle this boss without him going into his invulnerable state. He can also just resummon these ads if he chooses to do that, which is definitely annoying because they can just interrupt your combos and things like that. And it's kind of RNG. Sometimes he'll decide to... So yeah, he just resurrected the ads, I think.
No!
Or attempted to. And he decided to be a jerk and do this really slow Desperation Attack. So we get to see it. Oh, Malokyo. This is the same model as the Lord Ghost from before. Okay, and now he just will go down really fast because he's stunned and taking the bonus damage. So, unfortunate, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yep.
We haven't figured out consistently like any life thresholds or anything. So, like, he could have just as easily decided to do a different attack right there.
I'm pretty sure this boss is just perfectly random. I'm just saying. I'm not saying this because I hate him. I hate him, but I hate him.
Yeah, he's a jerk. So now we're entering the very last zone, more or less, which will have our refights. And so we implied it, but this area and the next area, every route, depending on your protagonist, has 2 unique areas of...
I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try a strat from New Game Plus. It's not safe. I probably miss it, but I want to try it.
Okay, we'll see. Which boss is it for? Which boss?
It's not for a boss. It's
Oh, it's a
it's
traversal
for
thing.
a 10-second time save maybe.
Let's see. I mean, I'm all about that. There are some hard partner boosts in any percent to save like 5 seconds that are fun.
Wait, have good positioning. No. I did it first time!
Nice. I haven't even seen that before.
This one
things you have
do
to do
it
in
more,
Glitchless.
This one you can do it more easily in New Game Plus because the hardest part is not triggering the fight and getting the CS going the right way and not focusing the enemies. And the accessories you get in New Game Plus helps you since you can just never enter a fight.
The things that you have to do in Glitchless. In any percent, we can just hop up. We just hop up there. The same thing, but, you know, just using a glitch.
Yeah, of course. The partner boosting.
How does it feel?
Pretty good because I did something stupid and it worked in a bad run. Because of course this is the kind of thing you never attempt in a good run.
Yeah, I mean, because you're I don't even know how much time it saves in this difficulty because you're giving up that damage potential. The CS percent, you gave up 200% for that. But, okay, so this is our first refight, and this is why we actually, it's really convenient that we have that class up item that gives Darksaber to the whole party, because this is the very first boss of the game, and he is weak to Dark. And there's nothing really going on. He will eventually, after the stun, probably, if he isn't dead, he will probably go into his shell, which makes him take almost 0 damage on the body, and you have to just attack the legs a little bit. It didn't happen, because the DPS was there, so real fast. Yeah, the end of the game is coming up, like, pretty soon. These bosses all go down really fast.
Yeah. There's 2 more refights, then there's the second lieutenant, and then it's final boss. And
Yeah, so this...
all back to back.
This area is one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason why we actually play the Archfiend route. The Night Cavern and this is the reason that almost all runs for, you know, going for top times are on the Archfiend route, is because this zone is really, really fast. Like a really fast pace, you can get through this entire refight section and the last boss in like 10 minutes or less. I think sub 10 is like pretty common if you're getting really good times, which is really fast compared to, you know, the Dark Lich Palace takes like 30 minutes or like 25 minutes just to get through the last area. It's like a 15-minute difference just in one area. It's kind of insane. So because you could use, you know, Kevin and Durin in every route if you want, like, obviously, and you could pick any protagonist outside of them, or either of them could be the protagonist. But actually, you could use the same party for every route. What am I saying? You could use the exact same party, but, you know.
Yeah, you have to
also
change a few things to handle the weapon upgrades and things like that. Since
yeah, your route definitely changes, but the same party is viable. And also the refights. The refights are different in each route. There's a little bit of overlap. But the refights are different. The refights in this castle are very fast. All of these bosses are very quick. There are certain bosses, like there's a Grapplevine refight in Dark Lich, which that boss has, you know, a whole 10 seconds of, you know, coming out of his shell from earlier that you just can't do any damage. But yeah, this refight, we're no longer being careful to not take damage, so we just beat her up really bad. Now, there has been some people in the past that have done quick kills for this last boss, but we're at the very end of the game, so there's going to be this boss, right here. We're going to take it out, and then we're not going to fight anything else, and then it's just going to be the final boss, and then we're going to have...
Archdemon is still
So-
the hardest boss usually through, isn't it? Well, yeah, maybe. I'm not even sure about that now.
Archdemon is pretty tough. If you... I will say it is pretty tough. I haven't fought the other bosses in a long time. But first, let's focus on this boss. So, this boss is really not so bad. She's always going to do either 2 or 3 attacks, and then she's going to do a certain pattern into her Desperation Attack. So we're just gonna do a bunch of damage, and then... Oh, wait, are you going for the quick kill?
Of course.
Okay. Well, never mind. You went for the quick kill instead. So, quick kill, boss is dead. You might have to pick up some
No, this is fine.
extra CS percent.
No, this is fine. I'm at 200%.
Oh yeah, you have plenty. Okay. Yeah, so CS swapping, class 3, level 51, just kill the boss. There might be one last stat allocate here at the end, I'm not sure.
It's not necessary, but it makes the last CS swap safer.
Yeah. So, just a little tip if you play this area casually. Killing that boss is not the end of the area. Do not use a magic rope. Right there. I did that when I played this route casually. Don't do it. It's really bad. You have to rerun through everything. Because you have to trigger this cutscene, and now it's over. Now you can leave using flaming.
Alright.
And so now, in terms of the story, the Archdemon is the only one left. We've defeated everything, but he goes back to the Sanctuary of Mana because he's going to try, and if I'm not wrong, he's trying to absorb the power of the Tree of Mana
Oh, he did.
directly.
He did. There's no
Well,
mana
that's
tree
why he
anymore.
left the castle. He left the castle to go to the Sanctuary and absorb its power, and he did.
If you look,
So-
there's no mana tree anymore.
He got revived. Well, he was there, but he's like revitalized. He's very powerful, and even though we couldn't save the Sanctuary of Mana, we still have to defeat him, or he's gonna,
Also,
take over the world, destroy the world, etc.
I'm sorry for the fans of the Sacrifice Part 3, the theme of the second part of the boss final, but you won't get to hear it if I play
Oh,
properly.
yeah, we will. No, okay, we're definitely not going to hear it. So this is. We said land number was the biggest time loss. I think this might actually be the biggest time loss. If you miss it.
Doesn't have that much HP.
It's similar. It's a very big time loss if you miss this. Pretty much the way this boss is supposed to work is you deal about 25% of his life, and then he or like maybe like 30, 40, somewhere in that range, and he will just activate a cutscene and go into phase 2, which is harder, better music, more crazy. It's a really cool fight. We're not gonna hopefully not see it, so we're gonna try and reduce his life to a pretty specific amount because we want to make sure that he is above the threshold where
The
he would
threshold
trigger
is
that cutscene.
60%.
60%. And we're going to wait for him to trigger an element swap, which starts a scripted series of actions where he's going to do a few attacks in a row. He'll do at least one attack and element change. So you have some time. And then we're going to do the series of CS swaps that we're used to take his life from 61, 62% or so all to 0 before he can pop the cutscene. And the game agrees with you and just kills him off without you needing to worry. So he's still doing fire attacks. We're not dealing any damage. We're waiting for it to say change element. And now we're going to dump all of our damage into the boss. Time is coming up very soon. Gonna keep him locked down. Yeah, and as soon as the life hits 0, time. Fade to black. Perfect. That's a nice fight. What we didn't mention, by the way, class 3 Reese also gets a gets a CS that can lock in place, so you can double lock these bosses.
Yep.
We forgot to mention that, but that was very good.
Kevin gets a big AoE that is used once against Zebelfar with 3 heads, and Reese gets the double.
Yeah, 256 is a good time.
Yeah.
Your PB was 48.
Especially considering that I had to load a save.
Yeah, you loaded a save. Yeah, it was a good time. So
Okay.
we're quite happy with that.
So yeah, that was. I'm still laughing about the stupid stride I pulled off at the castle.
I mean, it was faster.
The risk reward is absurd, but it worked because not only you can miss it by not aiming the right way, but if you're not close enough from the wall, you will just not go far enough on the
Yeah,
ledge.
and yeah, it'll just miss. Yeah, in the post game, you get to see everybody's little epilogue where they end up
Yep.
after the story, and then we get actually quite nice credit sequence, in my opinion.
So apparently we have time either to show off some stuff or to let the credits play. Can I show off some stuff? Do I have the
If
save?
you want to show off some stuff.
The question is, do I have the saves? Oh, maybe I can show.
Do you have the save manager? Because you can't check without opening that up.
I don't need that. I have a whole folder of save. I can just
Okay.
I think I can show off how dumb the physics can be to do the out of bounds in any.
No, you want to show like slide boosting.
Yeah, slide boosting.
A little bit.
At least that.
Sure.
I don't think I can really do the out of bound because I do not reach 100.
Yeah, you don't know the setup, so it's fine. You can probably show off slide boosting.
I'm not speaking about the setup. I'm speaking about not having enough FPS to reach high enough.
Oh yeah, you won't. Oh yeah. No,
Because,
it depends. If you're at 100 right now, that's probably high enough to get some of them. Depending on where you are, your FPS is different. Where are you gonna load? Which area?
Well, I'm gonna load this one, and I'm gonna fly.
Let's see. Yeah, so what he's gonna show off real quick is the main thing of any percent, in my opinion. It's the way that we go out of bounds, and really break the way that we're able to traverse. And I mentioned it a long time ago, but Kevin's dash attack has some really wonky coding. It sets his speed to some weird value, and then when you go aerial with that speed value, it doesn't reduce it or anything, and you can get really, really high speeds from that dash attack, and then you can send your momentum upwards by using the dash attack and a jump on the same frame. It's not exactly frame perfect. I don't think it would have been much harder for me to do it. It's pretty generous, but pretty much you line up the character with some geometry that's kind of like a corner. It's going to squeeze you as you gain a lot of speed, and it's going to send you flying.
Yep.
You're going to try and do the gust hall one?
Yeah, it's the most impressive, I think.
Yeah. The angle can be a little bit annoying, so.
Yeah, but at least if I miss it by a little,
yeah, you'll definitely be able to see the height. Yeah. So, both of the times in the run, we saw that we went to here twice. We went here to fight Heartsapie, and then we went here to fight Dangard. In Glitchless, you actually went 3 times. But in any percent, I mentioned you can just skip this whole area. You would walk this far.
You put
you'd
your
go
head
over
in this
here.
hole, and you do it like that. You hit it's jump, and then just after jumping, you press the attack button, and if you get the right angle that I don't know, absolutely don't know, you get very high.
I think you have to. The angle has to be a little bit more to the left, I think. But it's pretty precise because like there's certain angles where you have enough FPS that if you were at some of the best angles, so if you had some of the best angles, you would go really high. But in theory, the way that this works is you go really high and then you can punch out of the combo because like you're in a really weird state. You're not actually aerial when you slide and launch higher because you can see some of his attempts There you go. So he almost got high enough. That wasn't quite high enough, but you can get really high with the right angle, and then you can punch out of the combo, and then you can roll, and you can land on top of the out of bounds here. Oh, that one was actually high enough, but the angle wasn't quite there. So there are invisible walls there, but you can get over them. And then once you land there, you can jump over to the left, and you can just walk along the border of the map, and just fall back in bounds right where you want to be.
I'm not. I never trained this.
Yeah,
Oh.
you're not an any percent runner, so.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
That's high enough.
It's not quite high enough, actually.
Ah.
That's the one that really trolls you when you do it, because you're like, that's high enough, right? And nah, if you get the perfect angle, it sends you like really flying. But it's all right. I think they understand that you can use this to get out of bounds really easily.
So I'm gonna show the version with the partner.
Sure, yeah, the partner boost. So, like I mentioned with that one right there, he went to a specific point where there's geometry that has like a corner that lets you, when you push Kevin with that speed in that state into the geometry, he gets launched upwards. In certain places, your partners that are following you, they do have collision, and you can get them to stand still, and then you can push them into the corner by just running into them, and then their collision will actually create the geometry that you want. So if you wedge Reese into the corner here, and then use her as one of the walls for the corner, and then you do the in-place, jumping slide, you're getting the standing attack instead of the slide attack. So that's the same thing. You're doing a standing attack while like jumping in the air.
Come on, get in the corner. Grounded. Like that.
Come on, get in there. Yeah, so he didn't get quite high enough right there. But you actually don't have to get very high for this one. There's just an invisible wall to the left that you stand on. Yeah, don't be hard on him, guys. He's not an any percent runner. Yeah, it is possible that, like Dragos is saying, there is that you might not have enough FPS here, because this is definitely linked to FPS. The amount of height and speed that you get from these techniques is definitely limited by FPS. So we're looking at like 85 FPS. It might be enough. This one, I think you might be able to get.
There it is.
Some of them require like super height, so it's all right. Yeah, that one. There it is. Yeah, perfect. So now we're standing on an invisible wall, and now you would just run forward.
I don't know the path though.
Over. Yeah, you would run towards the center of this map, and you'd drop back in bounds. And this is a cleared file, so the water is already lowered here.
But the water would be where? Up there?
And any percent you'd be here, yeah.
This door would be close too.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able... The water would still be up, the bridges wouldn't be up, etc. But you could still get here, and just, go right to the boss, so... Yeah, so that's kind of the main movement glitch that lets us go out of bounds and skip all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, the other very important glitch in 80% is the quantum item.
Yeah.
But I'm not really confident in my ability of pulling it off.
Yeah, so I mean, I can explain it real quick, since we still have a little bit of time.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the quantum item glitch, I've mentioned before that we can really, really glitch out the items in this game. And we ended up calling it the quantum state, because more or less, I remember the old setup, but pretty much what happens is you use an item and you let yourself get interrupted from using the item. So I think the new setup is you let an enemy hit you during the animation of using the item, and then you load a save. And what ends up happening is the game detracts one item from you, but it didn't actually use it. So you actually, in your inventory, you'll have this really weird... Do you happen to have a save with it active anywhere?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So you end up having an item in your inventory that's just a blank slot. Like he's in the inventory here and he's selecting these items, but there'd be one with no text. It's just a blank slot. And you can actually assign it to your item
Oh
wheel.
yeah, but I don't think I can do it because I do not have an empty page to do.
That's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
So you assign it to the item wheel, and then you can pretty much, this is how we then duplicate items. So if you use it, if you click the empty spot, and then you click an existing item, and you put that on the wheel, it creates a duplicate of that item on your item wheel. And then when you use that duplicate, it doesn't actually subtract any items from your inventory. So, but that's how you get like infinite use of like the EXP cookie that we used earlier in the run. You can just use that infinitely by setting that up in the menus. It also puts the item in a really glitchy state, which is how you can use things like the magic rope. You can use it outside of caves. You can use it in combat. You can skip bosses by running in and then using a rope, to which warps you to town, but the boss trigger was triggered, so you just walk through it the next time you go there. So it's really cool. It's pretty complicated. I tried to give it fairly simple, but it completely breaks all the item system and, you know.
I think I have
Allows
time
for a lot
maybe
of things.
to launch a new game to show something in Hawkeye's Prologue.
Sure.
Up. So whatever, for the other light doesn't matter. But we're gonna escape his Prologue. We're gonna do a little trick and show that this game is very, very not letting you doing things out of order. Hup.
I have never played as this character in this game.
I really wanted Hawkeye to be more useful than Reese, but I could never pull it off. Hawkeye has a very interesting ability in class 3 called Weak Point 2 that increases the amount of damage you deal on elemental weaknesses. So I thought this would be worth it because Hawkeye as a ninja also has access to the ninjutsus. So just like Bill and Ben, he can deal debuffs. So yeah, I really wanted to be interesting, but unfortunately Riz has a prologue that is a whole minute shorter than Hawkeye. Wait, it's this way, I believe. I don't really remember. I'm gonna find out. No, there's not. Oh no, I know. Wait, I remember. Okay. So I have to go up there. Up. Then here. And then if you jump, hit, roll, you can barely make it to this side of the citadel. It's not easy, but I'm pretty sure it's that. No.
Yeah, and it's funny because this isn't even really a glitch. It's just, you know, the geometry is set up.
Yeah.
Such that you can actually make
Because
these jumps. Although,
can
again, it
escape.
could be FPS related as well.
This should be fine though. If I'm jumping at the right time though. There's something I must be missing. I'm just gonna watch the video real quick. Check.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's trying to get out to show you that you can leave things. This isn't even... If he was more practiced with, you know, the out of bounds, he could have even showed it earlier. But this is like almost a glitchless way. It pretty much is a glitchless way, you know, get out of the intended area. But the game is just going to not let you do anything.
There it
There are no.
is.
Okay,
And now I can take this gate, which is not closed off,
perfect.
and leave. And this is not gonna trigger the end of the prologue, and instead I can just leave. But because I left way earlier than I was supposed to, I can never go back. And so I'm in some sort of soft locked state where I'm here, and well, first I cannot open. I can open this. Sorry, but I can never go back inside Naval.
The objective is still to explore Navarre, but you can't get back in. It doesn't. The game didn't correct for the triggers. Like you moved further than you like. Eventually, you would leave through there. I think at the end of the prologue, but the game is like, nope, you didn't hit my triggers. Get wrecked.
It's because you're not supposed to enter Navarre if you do not have the Hawkeye or Reese as your main character, so it's closed off to everyone. And here, you see the fights here. They are not my level. They are level 30. So
yeah, so this zone is
gonna one-shot me.
Yeah, the only time you'd ever really be in the desert here is, in the mid game when these guys were like, at that level. So
yep. So I propose we go to safety.
Yeah, so we can let's protest and make them have the game code worse, so any percent can be a more crazy run. How about that?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, that is most of what Trials of Mana has. It is a very, very fun game for sure. 100%. It is very fun. It's definitely worth playing. If you play the original and like the original, you will probably like this. I personally didn't play the original, but everybody that I've spoken to that has played the original really liked this game.
Yeah, I'm really impressed at how different the remake is from the original, and yet how the same it feels. How true it feels to it, the original. Like you really see the original game under the remake, despite the game playing completely differently.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I wanted to pick up Blitz Cactus, but I think it's not enabled.
Is
yet.
it not loaded correctly? Because you never hit the first one. Is
oh
it
yeah,
not
you're
gonna let
right.
you?
There's not a single NPC here.
Yeah, so the game goes a little weird. Maybe go into a shop. Is there anybody in the shops or the inns or anything?
No, because this must be the
everybody's out
in the state of the prologue.
Yeah, so if only Vuskov could show up and honk for us.
I cannot even. Oh yeah, I picked up this seed. Ooh.
You can use the pot though. That's funny.
Yeah, I can.
Ah yes, antidote remedy.
Oh, I don't think I have time, but I could have shown the level 6 pot seed. It's possible to get it visually level 6. It's by doing glitchy, by planting duped seed that gives you errors instead of items.
But yeah, so
Wait, it's this house. Can I retrigger the cutscene if I go this way? Or not?
probably not.
Nah.
The game is not happy with us.
Not at all. Also, wait, are they supposed? Yeah, they're supposed to be level 30 here. I'm underestimating the power of the level of the area here. Yay! And here's a wonderful beach.
Alright, I'm not sure.
stupid seed. Or maybe I do. Maybe this one. Alright, if this works, I'm gonna show if this works, and if it doesn't, well, I'll just stop here because guess we're still waiting for the next next runner. Well, for the setup at least.
Yeah, you can probably.
Not here. Here. A place we rarely see in the game. The Oasis of Din.
This town is so useless.
It has a little cactus.
It was also when I was running my the last any percent runs I was doing. We did have to enter this zone.
No, they were
in
not
order to
used.
set our rope point. But
okay, so we're gonna stop here. So thanks everyone for watching, and thank you Questing for Glory for having me, and thank you Rio for helping me with the commentary.
absolutely, thank you everybody for what you've been doing. We appreciate it.
So we're gonna move on to the next round then. So I'm gonna go to sleep. Goodbye.